Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Welcome in on a Wednesday morning. We got the NBA Finals tonight. Game 3, Oklahoma City and Indiana in Indianapolis. And I believe that the Thunder are going to win this game. They blew game 1. You listen to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander talk. I mean, he just sounds like a coach. And you know, coaches, the next game is always the most important. And they've been down in the finals once. I think they think they're the better team. I mean, why wouldn't they? I think most of us think they're the better team. They've got the best player, and I think they've got more good players contributing at a higher level. But don't fall behind again. You're playing with fire. Don't go down 2-1. I think we see the Thunder come out and play a really strong game tonight, and I expect that wins it. So there you go. You got that to look forward to tonight, Game 3. There was some other NBA news. Egor Demin, who we've been heard has been improving his stock since the season ended, is one of 13 players to receive an invite to the NBA Draft Green Room. Who saw that coming? Well, the answer would be Travis Hansen. We had Travis Hansen on the show, former BYU player, obviously played in Russia and he played in Spain. Egor played in Russia and played in Spain. Travis played with the Russian national team for a while, so you know, there's a lot of ties that he and Egor have going back. And Travis has taught him to drive here in Utah. If you haven't heard the interview, it's available wherever you get your podcasts. And so when Travis was on, he got asked, where do you think Egor's going? And he said somewhere between 7 and 12. Now, that's very specific. If they're going to invite 13 guys, you think they'd invite the top 13, and apparently that would make him the top 13. And, you know, I don't think Travis is messing around because, A, that's really not his style. I don't think he has anything to gain by messing around. You know, he didn't say, 10 or 15, you know, picking round numbers. He said between 7 and 12. So I assume Travis knows something. So I'm not surprised he's in the top 13. I don't know why they cut it off at 13. I think that what you don't want is guys to be there and not get drafted in the first round. So at 13, I think you're pretty safe. You know, somebody will slide because somebody always slides. And obviously we just saw Shedeur Sanders, although I think that was a very unique situation. I imagine the NBA has done its homework here and that these guys will all be off the board by 20. That'd be my guess. It'll be interesting to see if they're like all gone by 15, right? If the NBA's really done its homework. But, you know, teams make trades, and I don't think you can be that spot on. But as long as they're gone between 15 and 20, then there's nothing really hideous. And I think they don't go past that because they just don't want to embarrass players like that. You know, and a guy can slip to 27 and be Rudy Gobert and be a defensive player of the year multiple times. Can be Jimmy Butler and be the last pick in the first round, right? And now we're just all going to go to the Joker. He could go in the middle of the second round. So, but I get what they're doing. Cutting off about 13, that makes some sense. Expect those players to all be drafted in the first 15 or 20 picks. So I'm not surprised Egor is there at all. And we've heard a lot about him improving his shot since the end of the season. You know, and so, I mean, we've all heard, Locke said it a million times he's on the show. Other people have said it and written it. You know, the college game has different rules, has different spacing. He's adapting to a new country. He's adapting to a new coach, trying to be respectful of teammates. Man, you get into some of these drills and situations, you can really just let it rip. And, you know, you're going to play different as a pro. It's going to be different. And honestly, he's not going to be a volume shooter anyway. He needs to shoot well enough to keep people honest. If they leave him to double, he's got to make the shots. He's got to be good enough to make someone rotate back to him, right? We all sat there and watched Jazz playoff games and watched them, you know, dare Ricky Rubio to shoot or dare Ronnie Brewer to shoot, right? I mean, we all saw it. You can't be that guy, right? You've got to keep him honest. And if you're running pick and rolls, and he figures to run a lot of pick and rolls, then if they go under the screen, you gotta take that shot off the dribble and hit it and make them go over, because otherwise you don't really get the full advantage of the pick and roll. They go under, they meet you. You want them to trail, and you want to get in the paint and make someone rotate to you. So those are the two things he's got to do. He's got to be good enough to make a defender either return to guard him or someone new rotate over to guard him. They can't let him just stand there and dare him to show him shots. And then if they go under on the pick and roll, he's got to hit the shot at a good enough clip to keep him honest. And that, I think, ballpark is 35%. Start getting above that, man, then you're really making noise. You get to 40, well, then you're awesome. And I'm telling you, if he gets to 40, he's going to be a multiple all-star. If he's at 40% three-point shooting, let's say in 3 years when he's 22, he'll be an all-star 5 times, maybe 10. I mean, he's got everything else. The shooting's the big question mark. He's just got to be adequate. He's got size. He's got length. He covers so much ground. He shrinks passing lanes and can block shots just by holding his arms up with his wingspan. He's athletic, and he can really pass the ball. So if he can shoot it, what do you need? He'll rebound well enough. So not surprised that Egor is there on draft night in the green room. Not surprised at all. All right, we'll get to some of your reaction on that and hear from PK on that coming up. Right now, though, we got to take a break. Coming back, we're going to go to the U.S. Open and hear from Brian Taylor and his thoughts on what is going to happen when the Open gets underway tomorrow. That is coming up. DJ and PK, proudly presented by our title sponsor, Black Desert Resort, Utah's premier golf resort. Brian Taylor next, then Barry Tramel from Oklahoma on the NBA Finals and college football. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Bob Casper is going to join us to talk U.S. Open from Oakmont at 8 o'clock. We'll have our U.S. Open draft. That's coming up at 8 o'clock. We had Brian Taylor on yesterday, which was their travel day. And as Brian traveled, he spoke with us. Here's Brian Taylor on the U.S. Open with PK and I on The Zone. BT, good morning.
Good morning, guys. U.S. Open week. Are we excited or what?
Oh, I mean, I am on cloud 9.
There we go. Bring it.
Yeah, I already done brought it. I've brought it all morning, all week, and I'll continue to do so.
Okay, let's rock.
Are you already in Oakmont? Are you going to Oakmont? Are you staying home for the week? What's the plan?
We are en route, and we will be there in just a few hours and there through the week. So we'll look forward to being on site. We were there about a month ago for Media Day and had a chance to play the golf course and interview the USGA guys and get a feel for it, and we're excited to get back out and cover it this week.
Well, they make it sound like it's just the toughest thing ever. What's your interpretation?
I would agree. I don't mean this sounds terrible, but I feel like it's tough for the sake of being tough. I didn't love the experience. It wasn't like, man, this is so fun, I want to do this again. It was like, wow, that was amazing, but that was brutal. And I mean, if you miss, you're in this. At the time, the rough was 5.5 inches. They just cut it yesterday down to 4 inches, and they're going to let it grow. So they talked about how they want to keep it uniform, so they have to grow it half inch at a time and then mow it, and they're all hand mowing. It's amazing, this army of hand mowers. And anyways, they'd had a ton of rain when we played, and they continued to have a ton of rain. So the golf course is a little softer than what they want. But if you miss the fairway, you're either disappearing in this deep, impossible rough, you're hitting into these bunkers with big, massive lips that you really can't advance it too far, or you're in a ditch. I mean, there's not too many U.S. Major championship venues where we talk about ditches. And the designer of this, Phones, back in the day, he just put ditches places where guys might miss it. And I had one out of the ditch, and I will say this. The shot out of the ditch was easier than the shot out of the primary rough because it was more wispy and thin, not quite as thick and lush as what the regular rough is. But nevertheless, you're on a side hill, leaning down, trying to hit a shot. It's going to be tough. Premium on driving accuracy, premium on hitting greens in regulation, and it's just going to be a total test. USGA says they want every club in your bag to get dirty at a U.S. Open, including the one between your ears. So it'll be a mental grind and a tough test for these guys.
So this course is over 100 years old, and it was designed and built by a guy who designed and built one course ever in his life, and it turns out to be one of the classic courses in America, now hosting its 11th U.S. Open. And so I read that the toughest thing about this is the fact that it was designed back in the era when, you just had a team of horses out there. They didn't move that. It's sloping, the ground slopes. They didn't move that much dirt. And so the fairways, they bend, but they also slope so that even balls that land in the fairway, the question is, can they hold? So this rain sounds like it's critical because if it were drier, everything would just be running into the rough, even if you didn't hit it in the rough.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And that's the big story right now is balls are stopping in the fairway. And you're right. This thing was designed by a guy and his son. He misdiagnosed that he was going to die quickly. And he sold his steel business to Carnegie and decided to build this. He wanted to build the hardest golf course in the world. And he and his son went out and did that. And they would sit and watch their members play And if somebody hit a shot and it went somewhere and there wasn't something, they'd go build it in the middle of the night. They talked about the legend is that they'd be out there in the middle of the night digging up a new bunker, and then members would show up the next day and there was a bunker where there hadn't been a bunker the day previous. So it's pretty interesting. The fact that they kind of got it right. And then it's gone through a lot of iterations. Consider this. They finally get a U.S. Open. I don't say finally. They get this U.S. Open there. And I believe it was Herbert Warren Wind, who I think was also credited for coining Amen Corner at Augusta. He gets there and he just called it a brute. It's just a big brute. Well, apparently they have feelings as well as being steel-hearted out there and rough and blue-collared in Pittsburgh. And so they started having these member plant-a-tree parties. And they just started putting trees all over the golf course because this thing was wide open. Well, fast forward, decades, and all of a sudden they come and they look at it and they go, this golf course isn't exactly the way that Phones initially designed it. There really weren't all these trees. Let's do a restoration. Let's start taking trees out. So they start taking trees out, and then they bring Gil Hansen, and he finishes the restoration up, I think, 2 years ago. And it's supposedly back to what it was when Phones originally did this. And the trees are all gone. You can sit on the porch of the clubhouse and look out and see 17 of the 18 flags. It's pretty remarkable. Not very many pieces of property that you can say something like that. So it is more wide open. Some people don't love that. Some people do. When you have trees, you're able to frame your tee shot, so you can hey, I'm going to play it off that left edge of those trees and cut it back in the fairway. Without some of those reference points, sometimes it's harder for guys to pick lines and be comfortable with them. On the other hand, you also find yourself getting way more wayward, and you can get into some deeper rough and some ditches and things like that you might have been knocked down by trees in the past. So it's a really interesting kind of golf course architecture study to see what they've done here. And you're right, one-hit wonder, this guy.
Number 8, a 289-yard par 3. Is that the longest par 3 on the tour?
Yeah, it will play over 300 yards at some point in time during the championship as well. So guys are hitting drivers, 3 woods. It is downhill. Is that a consolation? It's downhill. Yeah. It's a downhill 300-yard par 3, so that's okay, right? It's hard. I mean, there's going to be Billy Casper famously laid up at Winged Foot back in 1959 in the U.S. Open on the 3rd hole, which was a short par 3. Well, it was a longer par 3, but short compared to this. And he just thought it was too penal to get up there and miss into the bunkers because you go back and forth over the green, bunker to bunker. And he laid it up short and pitched it up and made par all 4 days and won by a shot. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of strategy. I don't think anyone's laying up intentionally, but it wouldn't be surprising me if there's a lot of guys. I wish if Fred Funk was still out there. I'd love to talk to him. He'd be like, I can't even get it to the green. So,
Oh, wow. Fred Funk.
He was a crack up, man. The guy's so funny.
We always wonder what a bunch of amateurs would do, set up, championship course, set up for the championship. So all the media members, how did it go out there?
So Bob played pretty good. Bob shot, I think, 76, 77, something like that. I shot 81, and we were playing 3 tees forward, 3. So it was significant. Let's just put it this way. A better stretch is one of their best members out there is a +1 handicap, routinely shoots between 75 and 78. And I think they were saying on Golf Channel that with this rough up the way it is, he couldn't break 85. And he's a +1 handicap, local member, plays there all the time. So if that gives you any indication as to how the difficult test of this thing is, a guy that knows the course the back of his hand, really good ball striker, good player, can't break 85. This should be interesting.
Tell us what you know about Preston Summerhays, who will be in the field.
Yeah, super excited about Preston. Just graduated from Arizona State. He's in that top echelon of PGA Tour U, which should give him a good shot to make it out on the PGA Tour. And he qualified. He was the medalist. I think he shot 70-63, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere along those lines to win his sectional qualifier and to get into this. So, yeah, I mean, pretty cool stuff. And his uncle, Danny, finished top 10 there back in 2016, the last time they hosted the U.S. Open there at Oakmont. I remember we chatted with him, and he was right there, going into the weekend. And I think he had a tough, if I remember, maybe a bit of a tough Saturday or Sunday, one of the days. But still, top 10, great finish by Danny. And so, yeah, Preston's going to give it a go. He he's a really good player. His dad, Boyd, was Tony Finau's coach for a long, long time, and he's coached him since he was, could pick up a club. And he's got a very deliberate, unique swing, I think, in some ways, but he absolutely hammers it. He's a long hitter. He's really good. He's just a good player. He's turned into a really, really world-class player. It wouldn't surprise me if we see him as a regular out there on tour. But, Francis Ouimet was the last player to win the U.S. Open in their first attempt, and I can't remember if Preston's played a U.S. Open in the past. I'm trying to remember. He may have, but he certainly has played some amateurs, but I can't remember if he's played an Open. But it'll be a tough test for him, but it'll be cool to see him out there.
All right, now do the whole Summer Hayes family tree. Go.
Let's see. We've got Bruce, who won, 3, 4, 5 times on the Champions? Yeah, I don't know. You got me.
Well, you were just quoting Uncle and Dad there. I just thought maybe, hey, this guy's got all the Summer Hayes golfers down cold.
No, just those two.
Well, we do know that Phil is going to get the career slam, so who's going to finish second?
So that was obviously a huge story when he became the oldest major champion at 51 at the Ocean Course at Kiowa on the PGA Championship. That was probably one of those Samsonite 1 in a million comments from Dumb and Dumber. This one's even greater.
He's competed well last week.
6 runner-up finishes.
Torture.
You could probably put about all the money that you want on him getting another runner-up would be remarkable. But no, look, this is probably Phil's last one. I think his end of his exemption runs out. It's 5 years now since the winning that PGA Championship. So he's winners in the other majors. He'll be able to keep playing those, but this is probably his last U.S. Open.
What a better story. And then have him win it in his last one. Sayonara. Grand Slam.
One of our favorite little drops that we use on the show regularly is Phil talking about the rough at Oakmont. I think it was back in 2016, and he was at a practice round, and he said, it's dangerous. It really is. And we just cut that, and we play that all the time. Anyway, so I don't know. It's even more dangerous. Phil's got to be careful. It's dangerous out there.
Is it going to be dangerous for Scotty Scheffler? Scheffler or the field?
Yeah, you know what? But DJ, that's it, right? I don't even remember. It was Tiger. Like Tiger 2005? Is that the last time we even had these conversations, Tiger or the field? And we used to laugh. And we would laugh, but then we'd be like, gosh, I don't know. I think I might take Tiger. And yet I would say the same thing. It's laughable to say any golfer over the field, and yet Scotty checks all the boxes this week. He's leads the tour in strokes gained off the tee into the greens. He's top 10 putter. I mean, he's scrambling. His pitching is off the charts. We know he just is disciplined and committed to his game, and his mental game is good. He's got the best caddy in the world, and they just. Here's the other thing is you say, well, look, he's won 3 of his last 4 starts. He's kind of spent his powder a little bit. Maybe he doesn't have anything left. The thing that's so impressive, a lot like Tiger Woods, is he just seemed a bit unfazed by his success. It wasn't like he was out there, like this was the most amazing day of my life. This is great. He's like, yeah, this is what we do. And he always enjoys the win. And he's like, and we're going to go celebrate this with friends. But then I'm just back to being my normal thing. I'm going to go back to work. And so I think that's really tough to do. If I won a PGA championship, I mean, look at Rory. He completes a career Grand Slam, and he's like, I've accomplished everything. I'm out. Thanks, everybody. And next thing you know, he's, trying to find a driver that'll work. And he went from being the story of the year to second story of the year behind Scotty Scheffler. So it's just so easy to have that window close, and Scotty seems to have it wide open still. And the thing to remember is same thing at the PGA Championship. Even though he's a multiple major winner, he only had the green jacket. Well, now he's got the Wanamaker, and he doesn't have a U.S. Open yet, so why not? I don't think he's satisfied, and I think he's just going to go out there. And I don't know anyone that's not picking Scotty this week. And yet you got to always look for spoilers because it doesn't always happen. Everybody thought Arnold Palmer would win in 1953, and Jack
I did too.
Ended up – right? Remember that? Remember we were talking about that?
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
I am just so happy for Scotty and Meredith and Bennett. I mean, they're just a cute family.
Here we go. Apparently, look, Pat's already done with it. It's like the next greatest golf story, and he's already done with it. I don't want to see Meredith. I don't want any more baby talk. Yeah, you do.
Last time he was focused on golfers' kids, I think it was Phil.
Probably, but I thought he was squarely focused on Phil's wife. If we're honest, I mean, there was this Amy thing going on. Yeah.
No, I just I was a friend of the family for a time, and it's okay. I mean,
what did you send him for Bennett's baby shower?
That illegal driver.
Oh. Oh my gosh.
That was quick. You got to admit, that was quick. He was quick on the draw. He's ready for you.
Not bad. Not bad.
Ready for you.
Hey, you guys going to do your draft tomorrow?
Yes.
You want a couple spoilers?
Yeah.
Sepp Straka. Number 1 greens and reg, and I think he's number 11 in fairways hit. And he's won a couple of times. Yeah, look, the last 4 winners at Oakmont, Larry Nelson first in greens and reg. Ernie Els first in greens and reg. Cabrera was tied for third, and the runners and the guys that runner up, Tiger and was it Phil, were tied, were first and second. So Cabrera was right there, and then DJ was first. So if you're looking for something to hang your hat on, go for that greens and reg. And I see Sepp Straka there, and he's also there in fairways. But you're not going to hit greens if you don't hit fairways. But I like Straka's maybe, and Patrick Cantlay. I'm not a Cantlay fan, but third in greens and reg on tour, and he has made the cut in every one of his U.S. Opens, and he's probably one of those kind of grinders that you never know. So anyway, there's a couple. Russell Henley is a little bit of an outlier too. Bob McIntyre, now we're kind of reaching, but I like Shane Lowry, Colin Morikawa, Xander Schauffele, the usuals. But outliers, Straka, Cantlay, and Henley.
All right, those are my 3 picks. I'm done.
Yeah.
He's on the BT plan.
I'm saying spoilers. I wouldn't go with my first or second pick, but if you had to grab a third, you never know.
Well, that's what I like to do, man. Anybody can pick Scheffler, and
Bob's going to.
I mean, that's so freaking boring.
Dude, your boy Rahm though should play well this week.
Yeah, okay. I'll put him on
Don't
there.
you still have him? Your Arizona State connection?
That's your Arizona State.
That's our territorial selection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Rahm will do well.
There's Brian Taylor. A reminder, you can join Hans and Scotty. They are going to be at RGS Exteriors tomorrow from noon to 3. RGS Exteriors, 4235 Farm Road in West Jordan. When we come back, Barry Tramel from Oklahoma, talking NBA Finals with the Thunder tied 1-1, and also talking a little college football. How are things going to change with this new house settlement? Stay with us. Join Hans and Scotty Thursday, noon to 3, RGS Exteriors, 4235 Farm Road in West Jordan. DJ PK, and we're joined now by Barry Tramel, sports columnist for the Tulsa World. Barry, good morning.
How's things in Salt Lake?
A little quiet, not much going on. Had a lot of teams in these parts go with young players. Young players don't win a lot, so you get to playoff times, it gets a little quiet.
It does. I forgot, the Thunder hadn't been in a deep playoff run in a long time. I forgot how oppressive it is to everybody's schedule.
Yeah.
You build your life around the dang NBA final schedule, and if you're working in the business, you're messes all kinds of. I'm about to get in the car and head to Indianapolis. So it's I forgot what that was like. Last time I was in a big deep run, my granddaughters, they were into Barbie dolls and stuff. They weren't playing 16U softball. So, so it's a little bit of a sacrifice. Plus, you guys, it's a little bit different for the Salt Lake people in the Rocky Mountain. But, golly, these Western Conference playoffs will just kill you in terms of staying up late. And I'm used to it. But a lot of people have to work in the mornings, and the West just it's a brutal schedule for everybody.
Yeah, we went through that when I was working for the Tribune with those 8:30 starts, which were actually like 10 to 9, and we had deadlines, and so we had a couple of deadlines. And I would write the initial game story. I wasn't the beat writer, so the beat writer didn't have to throw some slop together, that he'd actually have an extra 45 minutes and can write a real story. And so the way it was, the paper then would go down to St. George, the first editions, and we used to joke that I was big in St. George, which is 4 hours away, because those would be the only people who would see my running story, and you know what that means, and it's just crap, and you're just trying to fill the space, and then in the Wasatch area would be the regular story. So that was my claim to fame to all the retirees in Salt Lake or St. George. They get to know who I was, and it was funny that just the other day I was down there golfing and introduced and said my name, and the guy says, "Oh, you're the writer." No, I haven't worked in newspapers. I haven't worked in daily newspapers in 15 years, but that's how they knew me. So
yeah, those were the glory days, man. Yeah. They were fun.
Yeah.
They were fun.
I was going to ask you that, you're in such a hotbed, a corridor of football that starts in your state and runs all the way down to Texas, obviously. So how does this compare to what's going on in your area to football?
Well, it's until recent weeks, it hasn't been, I would say, as vibrant or as hopping as it was 10 years ago with Westbrook and Durant. But I think people got a little jaded by the Durant departure, by the rebuild, all that kind of stuff. But it's coming back really fast. And when the Thunder is popping, it sort of consumes the state more than football for this reason. Everybody's on board. When the Sooners are winning big, about 1/3 of the state, the Cowboy fans and some transplants, they get tired of that real quick. And when the Cowboys have a great year, win the Big 12 or something, OU fans they sit in their closet and close their eyes and hope it goes away. They don't even want to deal with it. But when the Thunder's doing great, everybody's on board and everybody's flying the flag. So it's a pretty cool communal spirit. I would assume it's pretty similar to what happens when the Jazz are going great.
Sure.
The Utes and the Cougars, they don't really get along. So it's a great communal spirit, brings everybody together. I think it's great for a region and a state and a city. So that's pretty much what's going on now. And the Thunder, we didn't really build to this much. 2 years ago, they were in the play-in. And then last year we realized, hey, they're getting pretty good. And now, they got an historic team. So we didn't really prepare for it that well, but it sort of was thrust upon us pretty quickly.
Do you expect them to seal the deal here, finish it, and win the title? Or is there still some doubt and some worry given the way Game 1 went?
Well, I think they're going to win it. It's not a lot of margin for error. In a 7-game series, if you give away a game, that means you got to really beat them 5 times, and maybe you can do that. But it sure would have been easier if they'd have just closed out. They had a 9-point lead with 3 minutes left. If you're up 2-0 going to Indy, they're blocking off the streets for the parade route. So that's not necessarily the case now. But it looks like they've got the better team, and that's always a good place to start. And they've been a good road team. So, I think, the Vegas people and the national analysts, they all still think it's the Thunder. So people are reasonably optimistic, but they sure made it harder on themselves than they had to.
So we saw on a national level the breakout of SGA with the MVP, deservedly so. And this is his first go-around, so maybe he hasn't had time to just lean into it and become some mega superstar in terms of just beyond basketball, like we've seen those types of players that get to that level. Then they become like, you can't get within 100 yards of him, basically. He seems so humble and that type of thing. What's your perspective on it as you've been around him? Is it true the way we would view him?
He seems, he seems too good to be true so far. Now, some people with long memories are a little bit hesitant, still a little slow to buy in because we also thought Kevin Durant was too good to be true. And turns out he was too good to be true. So, but all kinds of good signs about SGA. There's lots to like about the guy. I mean, he's married to his high school sweetheart. I mean, you don't see that much anymore. Gal he met in Hamilton, Ontario, when he was 15 years old. So he's pretty well grounded. He goes back to Ontario and hangs out with his friends in the summer. That's what he does. And he's just, he dresses really cool. But outside of that, he's really showing none of the trappings of celebrity. And, one thing about the Canadians, I don't know how you guys experience with the Canadians, but I'm pretty high on the Canadians, just as people. I love going up there. They don't seem to be full of themselves too much. Some of the trappings of American society really haven't caught on in Canada. So if you're gonna get yourself a superstar, you might rather have a superstar from Ontario rather than Texas or Florida or Kansas City or someplace. Something about their culture just makes them a little bit more reliable on being normal people. So I think the Thunder perhaps struck gold in that regard.
Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams struggled a little bit in game one, seemed to get a little bit untracked. We still haven't seen the best from them. I mean, SGA has just been money through the first two games of the series, as he has been all year, and that's why he's the MVP. But you don't do it by yourself. So is everybody happy with the way the guys around them are growing and evolving?
Well, everybody's pleased that guys like Dort and Caruso and Aaron Wiggins the other night, all kinds of guys are rising to the occasion. But Holmgren and Williams are a little bit of a special case because they haven't played that well. And, Holmgren, I'm going to cut him some slack. He's really a second-year guy, or he is a second-year guy. And year two, he missed 50 games with that busted hip. So even though he's a unicorn, 7'1" and highly skilled, his body isn't developed to where it needs to be to be an NBA mainstay. And so I think he's probably about all you can ask for. Now, Jalen Williams is an interesting, as we're talking, I was doing some research. The guy's in his third year and made All-NBA, and now he's in the NBA Finals. And I went through and found how many guys made All-NBA and then played in the NBA Finals in their third year or lower. First, second, or third year. All-NBA and then made the Finals that year. He's the first guy to do it in 19 years. Dwayne Wade was the last one. Since 1995, Shaq did it in 95. Since then, it's just Wade and Williams. And then if you go down lower than that, it's all-time greats. It's Hakeem and Magic and Larry Bird and Bill Walton and Kareem. So Jalen Williams is a little bit on funny territory because you just don't see guys do this, and when you do, they're all-time greats. Does that mean he's going to be an all-time great? Well, it's sort of hard to believe that Jalen Williams is going to become Jerry West or somebody. But it's a little bit of a strange thing because third-year guys, we had James Harden in his third year in the NBA Finals in 12, and he was terrible in the Finals. Really hadn't been all that great in the playoffs ever since for anybody. But in his third year, you can't really expect a guy to be except he's All-NBA. If you're All-NBA, your team needs you. That's why you're in the NBA Finals, is because you got a guy that made third-team All-NBA. So to me, it's a conundrum on Jalen Williams. Is he going to be an All-NBA player, or is he going to be a third-year guy? And that's sort of where he's in that purgatory between the two. He was not very good against Denver, and then in Game 7 he was great. And then he was really good against Minnesota. So he's had some big moments. But if he came out and played All-NBA, then I think the Pacers are in big trouble.
Another thing I love about the Thunder is they don't have a celebrity head coach who's running his mouth about this or that and just sucking a lot of the oxygen out of the room. This is a guy who's understated, at least from our perspective, my perspective being, 5 states away or whatever it is. And it seems to me that he's got a good handle, and it's more about the players, and it's not look at me type of guy, which some of these coaches tend to just revel in that, and they want the attention. Explain what he's got going on.
Well, first of all, you can get to Oklahoma and Utah with traveling through only one other state, Colorado. I don't recommend it because it includes some dirt road.
Right. I take Pacific Coast Highway because it's more scenic. Then I shoot over to Oregon and then Idaho, and then I come down that way.
I don't blame you at all. But I've always wanted to go into Colorado without going into any other state. But I'll have to do it without my wife because it literally is about 10 or 15 miles of gravel road, and she says, no way. So maybe someday I'll do that. Anyway, Mark Daigneault is a treasure. I mean, I think he's a really good coach. Pretty clearly he is. But he's my second favorite coach. I'm 64, and I've been doing this job since I was 17. He's my second favorite coach ever to cover.
Scott Brooks?
I mean, no, number one is Howard Schnellenberger.
Oh.
I loved Howard Schnellenberger. But Mark Daigneault will answer any question you ask, and he does it without cliches or without, retread. He really gives you good answers on almost everything you ask. And he's just an unbelievable communicator. And if he treats his players, if he communicates with his players the way he communicates with the media, then this guy's the real deal. He has done a great job. He is, I thought you said it good, he is not a celebrity coach. People around Oklahoma City now know him, but he can go a lot of places, and nobody even knows who he is. Yeah. I asked him that day, I asked him that very question. I said, do people now know you? And he said, well, when I go get coffee or something, most people will say something. He said, but if I'm on the road, if I'm in Boston or Denver or L.A. or someplace, and I'm going down the street and go into a restaurant or eat, nobody knows who I am. And
he's got to love that.
He's got to love that. And he's just now 40. He turned 40 just the other day, and he's remarkable for this. He went through. They hired him basically to tank. Now, they waited about 3 months in year one. SGA was his second year in Oklahoma City. They had Al Horford and SGA, and they didn't have a terrible team. And I think they were 19-24 when SGA got hurt, and they said, we're not messing around anymore. And they sat Horford, and they tanked the rest of the year and, won 23 games or something. And then the next year they were terrible again. So this is a guy that started out his career, 70 games under 500 in 2 years. Most coaches never dig out of that. He's now well above 500 in his career record. And so he's done that very quickly. And he's headed for a great career because he's in tune with the franchise. He's not an outsider. He was sort of raised in the franchise and believes in all the things they believe in, and him and Sam Presti are marching in lockstep. So he's headed for a glorious career, and they got a great future. But, yeah, he's the real deal. He's sort of a normal person. Most people high up in the NBA are not normal people, and it's not their fault. They're either players who have been, celebrities since they were 13, or they're coaches who have been, in this business for 40 years and don't really know what real life is like. And Mark is not that way. I guess he could get that way, but he's not that way yet. He's sort of just a normal person.
The House settlement's all done, and the Big 12 commissioner has come out and said, people want rules, and they're going to follow rules, and it'll be punitive if they break rules. Do you believe any of that?
No.
Okay.
I believe the lawyers everywhere in America are very excited today I think we're going to have a whole bunch of lawsuits over this after this House settlement. I think it's going to be a big mess. I'll be surprised if we have any true enforcement from the conferences. I think as long as they sort of look out after themselves, I mean, they're not going to. I don't think they're going to cooperate. The SEC and the Big Ten don't seem like they're in cooperation mood. ACC and Big 12 should be skeptical and paranoid about everything the other guys do. I just don't see much collegiality, much cooperation. I'm not. I don't even see how it's legal to say, we're going to police how much you can get in this. So you can get paid, but we're going to police how much you can get paid. That doesn't seem legal at all to me. So I just think it's all going to crumble in the courts, and who knows what's going to happen with trying to keep the smaller programs alive, the mid majors, or even the Olympic sports at the power conference level. And to me, it's a financial disaster waiting to happen. People just figuring out. People saying we don't have any money. We don't have any money. We don't have enough money. We don't have enough money. We don't have enough money. But I'm going to hire, an NFL style front office. Oklahoma announced 6 or 7 hires yesterday: assistant general manager, scouting development, all that kind of stuff. And don't have any money, but we're going to keep adding to the payroll. So it just looks lunacy to me.
Gundy at Oklahoma State, is it win or else this season?
Oh, probably. The administration of the school is so sketchy. They ran out the president, and they got a new president, and so the regents are clearly pretty running things, and most of them not big Gundy fans. It's a mess. I don't know if they can afford to fire him, but if they can, they'll try to figure out a way. But for all I know, he's going to go 12-0. I think they're going to stink. But I thought they were going to be great last year, and they went 0-9. So I'm not going to try to figure them out. But man, there isn't much to like. They're going to rank going into the season. They're going to rank 16th out of 16 teams in quarterbacking. I don't know who's the best quarterback, but I know who looks like the worst, and that's Oklahoma State. So it's just it's a mess. You saw how when you think about how good they've been over the years, and they were a top 10 team in 21 and 23. They're in the Big 12 title game, and now you don't even know who the players are or who the quarterback's going to be, or totally new staff. I mean, I guess I've mentioned this. I've literally never seen a football team where the football coach fired literally every one of his staff members. The only guy back is the kicking coach. He kept the kicking coach, but 100% new position coaches and coordinators on this football team. I've never seen that before, ever. Most times when you do that, the head coach is out the door too, and here it's not. So it's a strange year for OSU. Maybe they'll sort of resort to the mean and end up being a 6-6 type team. I don't know, but there's not a lot to get excited about.
So is Texas Tech your pick to win the league? You like somebody else? You don't want to pick who's going to win the league because everything went so crazy last year.
Yeah, I just like picking somebody who hadn't been in the Big 12 title game in the last 5 years, because I think it'd be cool if we kept that streak going, new champion every year. Tech's a good one. I think BYU's interesting on that level. But if Tech, if they can figure out how to incorporate Najee Kennedy into the offense or defense, maybe she can play rush end. That would probably beef their hopes. But Tech is at least, I don't know if Tech's any good, but Tech at least figured out quicker than most, including some major powers. Hey, everything's changed. And for us to sit around and even think about doing stuff the way we used to do it is just a waste of time. So I I like what I see out of their talent acquisition. Now, Joey McGuire, so far, I think he's unproven as a coach. You know, they had a decent year last year, but they opened the year needing overtime to beat Abilene Christian. So it's not like they got a juggernaut going. But I do think they got some things to get excited about and things to be interested in. But again, I wrote about it the other day. You just have no idea what's going to happen there. I don't know if you guys saw the over-under numbers from Vegas on the Big 12.
Yeah.
The highest in the league is 8.5, and the lowest is 5.5.
Right, I saw that.
The difference top to bottom is 3 wins. I've never seen anything like that. Every other league it's 6 or 7, 9.5 to 3.5, or 10.5 to 4.5, whatever. Big 12, the difference is 3. So Vegas doesn't know either, and nobody knows. And most conferences these days are determined by who gets the easiest schedule. But you can't accuse the Big 12 of ever doing that, because what could you possibly do to make a schedule easy? You have no idea what the easy marks are. You never know who the tough teams are. So the Big 12 can hold its head high and say, we're doing everything by the book, because in that case they are.
Barry, we appreciate it. As always, good luck with that drive to Indiana.
Yeah, I was going to fly, but I thought, you know what? A couple of guys are going. I'm just going to go with them. I like road trips. Someday I want to drive to Salt Lake. Now, I know it's a bear from here, but I like to see the country. So I'm going to see a good part of the breadbasket. Missouri, Illinois, Indiana. I can give people a pretty good scouting report by the time this series is over.
Yeah. He's Barry Tramel, sports columnist for the Tulsa World, and one of our favorite guests right here on The Zone. Thank you, Barry.
See you guys.
There's Barry Tramel. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know.
News update.
This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NBA.
I wouldn't say anything's different competition-wise. You know what I mean? Like, everybody in the playoffs is competing their butt off. Everybody's playing desperate. I think what makes them really special is they're able to do that and not change their identity throughout the course of the game. You know, teams kind of veer off and kind of dissipate. I think they do a good job of sticking together, kind of like we do, and they just try and enforce their will on how they want to play, which makes them special.
That's Jalen Williams talking about the finals and playing the Indiana Pacers.
Isn't that nice? That makes him special. Everybody wants to be special.
3 more wins and somebody will be a champion. That makes them special, doesn't it?
That would make them more special because they're already special. Yeah.
Getting there.
And which Jalen Williams was that? Because they've got 2 on the Thunder.
I assume that was the Jalen Williams who's like the second leading scorer.
Oh, well, okay. Yeah, right, because he's special. Yeah, I can see what you're saying. I'm special.
So special.
I gotta have some of your attention. Give it to me.
The Knicks requested interviews with Minnesota Timberwolves head coach Chris Finch and Houston Rockets head coach Ime Udoka, and both requests were denied. You cannot have our coach, New York. Go find your own coach. They're looking for a replacement to Tom Thibodeau. And the Rockets and Wolves shut them down.
There's Kendrick Perkins said Tom Thibodeau.
Tom Thibodeau took out a full-page ad in New York area newspapers to thank Knicks fans.
I love you, Knicks fans.
Dallas Mavericks and Detroit Pistons scheduled to play a regular season game in Mexico City November 1st. There's money to be made in other countries, and the NBA will go and claim it.
Are we sure? I mean, that sounds good now.
You see a few potential hitches in that plan?
Maybe so.
Former Duke star Cooper Flagg, one of 13 players invited to the green room during the NBA draft later this month.
Oh, you're burying the lead.
Former BYU Cougar Egor Demin among the 13 players.
How about that, man? Super cool. No one would have thought that when he was breaking. He only shoots like minus 7% from three.
That fits right in with what Travis Hansen says of he'll go between pick 7 and 12.
It do.
Try to get these 13, get them picked in the first 15 to 20 players, and don't embarrass anyone with someone plummeting.
They said there's a handful more invites that will go out, but to your point, maybe 20 at most are going to be there.
Yeah, but these
don't need anyone sitting there in the night. Well,
they got invited, man. They're there. They're the elite. They're special.
That poor player over there didn't get picked. He'll be back tomorrow for the second round.
I don't think that'll be the case. I don't
no,
think
they'll
this
be
is
careful.
Football.
They'll be careful of this. No.
But football, you have to address need. You can't always, unless you're way up there, just draft the best player because it's just so many moving parts. Where in basketball, I'd be surprised if any of these guys, top 13 for sure, don't go somewhere.
They're all gone by 20.
Yeah.
Now they're going to invite some more players. We'll see.
And plus, nobody wants to be embarrassed themselves by not taking this guy when everybody says you should take this guy, and then this guy blows up. That's more embarrassing than picking a guy who sucks. And then the other guy who everybody said should pick, you didn't take, and he's better, but he was taken later. I think that is worse than missing on somebody.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag NFL.
A lot of decisions that I've made over my career in life from strictly the ego, even if they turn out well, are always unfulfilling. But the decisions made from the soul are usually pretty fulfilling. So this was a decision that was best for my soul.
Is that an Oura ring or anything else? That wedding ring?
Yeah, it's a wedding ring.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How long ago?
It's been a couple months.
So there's Aaron Rodgers. Joining the Steelers was the best thing for his soul, and he confirmed he got married in the offseason.
And the way we live around here, I also believe you were right the first time joining the Steelers.
Joining the Steelers. Nice.
Yeah. So it was okay. It was
he
a little
joined
slip
the
of the tongue,
Steelers
but
a couple
you
months
meant
ago. He joined the Steelers.
It was subconsciously, because you've gone through that ordinance yourself. So you know exactly what they're talking about. That's what you said. You said the Steelers, not me.
Why are you the way you are?
Hey. 2027, it opens back up, big guy.
You said that, not me, man.
Okay.
So it is. He did go a couple months back. He went through the Steelers, and now he's with the Steelers.
Dotted my I's, but didn't cross my T's. So
and hopefully they win this year, so he's not with the Reelers. I mean, why am I the way I am?
You know exactly why.
I mean, you said it. I'm just following up on what you said. I mean, come on.
Chargers coach Jim Harbaugh says he underwent successful procedures for a cardiac ablation and a hip replacement. Quote, "The doctors can't find anything wrong with me. A grade." Okay, that's kind of funny.
Whose health is better than Jim Harbaugh's? Nobody's.
Now that he's had a cardiac ablation and a hip replacement.
Right. Well, now he's good to go.
Move the grade back up to an A. He did the extra credit work, and he raised that grade. Former Charger running back J.K. Dobbins is staying in the AFC West. He just signed a one-year, $2.75 million deal with the Denver Broncos. Incentives can push that over $5 million if he reaches them. Expecting a big year out of the Broncos or the Chargers?
Oh, I expect them to be in the contention.
Chiefs can't win that division forever, right? It's been 9 years in a row.
Sure. I mean, these are teams on the come.
Right. And I think coaches in the second year. They had good first years. Build on that. Totally makes sense if they can actually make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, Nick's, his first year was a sensation. It looks like after all these years of John Elway, they found somebody.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
NCAA President Charlie Baker said that recent multi-billion-dollar House settlement approval creates, quote, a far better future for the organization, one that, quote, comes with choices instead of bankruptcy, close quote.
Yeah, I don't know how you can say that for sure. I hope so.
Does seem like there's a whole lot of confidence in this, and I don't exactly get why.
Well, I think there is potentially for football. The BYU coaches had been talking to me about that for several years. Hey, we're pretty good, but once we get this thing, it'll be really an even playing field. Things have changed in the course of, I haven't talked to them about it in at least a year, about what they thought. And, with the big money flowing in Provo, maybe that'll change. But I think football will be okay. I mean, you have to take care of football above all. Now, above all could mean the reduction or elimination of other sports. And that sucks for those individuals, whether they be players, coaches, trainers who are with that team, whatever it might be. And that's not good. But I think they're thinking about football. And in order for college sports to be healthy, football has to be healthy, and it has to be at peak condition.
Baker said, no one in this room needs to hear me say that this is one of the biggest changes ever in college sports. I hope you also understand that it's a far better future than virtually every other alternative that could have been in front of us. Blame whoever you wish to blame, but the simple truth is clear. College sports' collective inability or unwillingness to change years ago put the entire enterprise at risk. Is the settlement disruptive? Very much so. But it is an opportunity for the Division I community to pay for back damages over 10 years instead of triple that amount all at once.
Okay.
I get why paying the triple damages immediately, that would have been a problem. Come up with all that cash right now. Paying it over 10 years, that's going to make it a little easier, but it's still going to be a lot of money going forward, and schools are going to be stressed to keep up, I would think, but we'll see how it plays out. Colorado Buffaloes coach Deion Sanders is not with the program right now. He's dealing with an unspecified illness at home in Texas. His son Deion Jr. was on social media recently saying his father was feeling well and that he'll tell you all soon enough what he's going through, what he went through when we get back to Boulder. I don't know. I'm waiting until my dad leaves. When he leaves, then I'll go. Until then, I'm going to sit here with him. Deion canceled a speaking engagement this past weekend due to whatever health issue it is he's facing.
And Shador was asked about it, and he's basically said he's not talking about it.
Nope. North Carolina players said they're bullish on Bill Belichick as their head coach. Holy Cross transfer Christo Kelly, who was Belichick's first portal addition, said the attention to detail, the emphasis on fundamentals, and really just kind of creating competition for the guys, that's what's getting built here. Guys are embracing it. He treats everybody with tremendous respect, and it's been great.
Lovely.
All right. See if it pays off for a North Carolina team that has won the ACC football title in decades. How close can they get? Can they do it? DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
Infield straight up, outfield straight away and deep. Pitch swung on high, fly ball deep left field. Forget about it. My goodness, did he hit that? Oh, almost up the Hall of Fame. My goodness. Home run, Aaron Judge. 2-0 Yankees here in the first. Oh.
Dingler off the 3-2 again, swinging a fly ball center field. Did he get all of it? Going back is Cowser at the fence, leaping up, gone!
Leading off the bottom of the 10th, winning run at second base. Henry deals. Swinging a line drive, right field, base hit for Jeff McNeil. Acuna rounds third. Hassel's throw to the plate. Acuna races on by. No tag. Ball game. Mets win it again in 10. 5-4 New York over Washington.
Highlights around Major League Baseball. Aaron Judge with the signature moment of the night, a 469-foot home run, one of the longest in Kauffman Stadium history. Yankees 10-2 over the Royals. Judge has 24 home runs now, 469 feet, PK. Massive.
Yeah, I was watching that game. It was gone.
You got to rush out of that kind of stuff when someone hits one like that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's what he can do.
Judge leading the AL with 58 ribbies, and he is second right now in home runs with 24. And here come the Blue Jays, winners of 10 of the last 12 games. They beat the Cardinals 10-9. So they're now 4 games behind the Yankees in the East. The Dodgers, they get a lot of things right, but man, their pitching staff, hard hit by injuries, AAA games, bullpen games. It's kind of messy there with the old starting pitching. They got beat by the Padres 11-1.
Yeah, but I thought Hernandez came in and gave him a good couple innings. The only problem is he's a position player. Came in the 6th.
And the game was out of hand.
And he wore a protective helmet. So he knew that he might take one off the dome.
Yeah.
So go ahead and do that. That's smart. I think they all should do that.
Bees got blown out by Las Vegas 19-3. Same two teams tonight, 8 o'clock. Right here on The Zone. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NHL.
Edmonton Oilers defenseman Jake Wallman was fined $10,000 for 2 incidents during Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final. $5,000 stemming from his spraying water into the Panthers bench. And the other $5,000 coming from the roughing of Panthers star Matthew Tkachuk in the third period during their Tkachuk in the massive 6-1 loss.
It's like pennies. What is this? Get some real fines here, man.
Drop $100,000?
Yeah.
The spraying water in the bench. That was weird. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that.
Well, it's only water. Suppose it was worse.
Yes.
Maybe cool them off.
What is Trending is brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. All right, coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, Bob Casper, Real Golf Radio co-host. He will join us, and we'll have our U.S. Open draft. Tim LaComb, jazz analyst for SEG Media at 8:30. It's a Win Tickets Wednesday. We're giving away tickets to see Jason Aldean in the 8 o'clock hour. That's all coming up. The question of the day is next. Stay with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Austin Ainge announced as the president of basketball operations for the Utah Jazz. They've got a lot of work, obviously. There's not just a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of years to have to figure some things out. This is not a business-like position. This is a personnel position within the organization, and that is to say, hey, look, we have got to get the right personnel in the building. We've got to figure this thing out. We've got to find exactly where it is that we want to put ourselves.
This is a big loss for the Celtics. He played a big role in helping assemble the roster that they currently have. Brad Stevens runs the day-to-day operations of the Boston Celtics, and it says a lot that Brad could have sent Danny's son packing a long time ago if he didn't have value. Instead, he made him the assistant general manager. He helped build that roster that won an NBA championship last year. He has earned the place where he's at in the NBA today.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
We're going to recognize the unheralded superstars in our community, and I want you to nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at KSLSports.com/contest, and then listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making that impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals.
Question of the morning. What moves should the Utah Jazz make? Got a lot of opinions here. People all over the place. Mark, I think, got a great answer here. It depends on what direction they want to go.
Well, they want to go up.
Do they want to go up 10 games in the short run? Kind of cap themselves?
That's what I don't understand. Right. If you go up 10 games, why does that automatically cap yourselves?
Well, it depends on what kind of move you make to go up 10 games.
Why can't you then go up 10? At some point, they're going to have to go up 10 games in order to go up 20 games.
Yep.
So what are we waiting for? If they can go up 10 games, why not? Because really, 10 games is not just 27 wins. It's probably 35.
Yeah.
Go look at Oklahoma City, what they did.
They should have had 25 a year ago.
Yeah. Right. If they wanted, they could have got it. Yeah. So when you look at that, I don't understand that logic, capping themselves. You are so far away from worrying about capping yourself. You're trying to not hit rock bottom again. That capping yourself is years away from being even a worry. It doesn't mean you take on some ridiculous losing contract. That's not the point.
We got people suggesting that. Jason, trade both first-round picks for Russell Westbrook. Heavy sarcasm there. Thank you, Jason.
Again? Was that the fourth time?
Bring Russell back through town again. Vernon, I like trading Lowry Market to the Spurs for the 14th pick for Harrison Barnes and Devin Vassell. How about this one? Make sure we get our high lottery pick right. Why don't we trade up, swapping picks with Charlotte for their 4th and 5th pick, also giving up John Collins, assuming he opts in, for Brandon Miller and or Miles Bridges.
Ooh, Bridges had the domestic thing going on. You wonder if they want to get involved in that. And who's the other guy?
Brandon Miller.
Okay, I mean, he's so young that he shows some stuff. You wonder, what is his level? I like the Brandon Miller part.
Yeah, does Charlotte want to trade the number 2?
But what's in it for Charlotte? It would be number 4, but yeah. And the Vast man on the San Antonio one, he's only 24 years old. He'll be 25, I think, this summer. And he's been okay. Yeah. Since he's come in the league with the Spurs.
The bigger thing I think Vernon's trying to get here at is trade the veterans who are pretty good for younger guys who have a chance to be great. That, I think, is the theory, regardless of what names and teams you plug in there.
Really, though, if John Collins played like he did and he was 23 years old, he'd be far more valuable. So why not get somebody who's John Collins? You need those types of players. Is Jalen Williams that much different, that much better than John Collins? It's just that Jalen Williams is much younger. So I'm not sure that I buy into that theory entirely. I get it, certainly, and it'd be great if you could do it, but it's hard to do.
Oh, that part I totally agree. You have to figure out someone's going to be great.
Yeah.
And the
other guy doesn't?
And the other guy doesn't. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Now, there's also, hey, we think SGA is pretty good and we need something back in this deal. And maybe both teams are surprised that SGA turned into to the MVP.
Yeah, sure, I got you. Yeah, very plausible.
I mean, the Thunder aren't going to come out maybe in so many words and say that.
And did we get lucky?
Woo!
We hit the lottery.
Yeah.
So I understand that. But my point I'm making is I would think it'd be easier to get a younger player who has the potential to grow into a John Collins than an SGA, obviously.
Yes.
So I don't. John Collins is not trash here.
100%. He shot the ball really well last year. Really close to that 40, 50, 90 combo.
And it seems like he has a great understanding of the game.
Yep.
His attitude, unless there's stuff we don't know about.
No, but everything we know about, he seems like a minimal drama guy.
A guy like you, a guy that you'd like to have on your team.
Yep.
So I think that if you can get a younger John Collins in the deal, if I could trade John Collins and just take the same guy and make him 5 years younger, I'd do it. He's a nice player.
And at $26 million with the cap going up, the number looks much more reasonable than it did a few years ago. His production is up. There's more cap room. It's a good combination. There was a time when that contract was viewed as wow, that guy's way overpaid.
I mean, kind of everybody is. I don't know what to say on that. I mean, the contracts, you can always trade them. We've heard 15 times, 500 times contracts are untradeable.
There was a time with Chris Paul, like, you can't possibly trade that deal, and it literally got moved twice.
Yeah. So I don't buy any of that.
You can Russell Westbrook, untradeable contract, moved multiple times.
Right.
So there was a time that I bought that, but I mean, the proof is in the pudding right there, and they've been moved. So worry about something else.
Yeah.
Daniel wants to trade the 2 second-round draft picks for cash or players they can cut. Draft or trade their way into a better draft pick. Stay pat. Draft the best players available. Do not make any unnecessary trades to just give away assets. Do not, under any circumstances, trade for Paul George. Okay, I think they'll go younger than that. The question is, they try to get guys in their prime, or are they going to get some guys who are 22, 23 on their way up?
Well, the Paul George situation, depending on what it gives you, because you're not going to make a trade singularly XYZ for Paul George. What is involved there? What are your intentions with him? And what could it help you do?
If you take a bad contract, do you get valuable draft picks or potentially get some young player in the deal who you like?
Right.
Some to help the medicine go down.
So I want to see what the entirety of that would be. I don't believe that would happen in a singular 1-for-1 or whatever it might be, 2-for-1. The point being that the one is your acquisition of Paul George. I don't see that. That makes no sense, which is why it literally will not happen. So with that in mind, what does that entail?
Tony wants them to go get a legit star. You have to have a top 20 player to compete for a title. Right now, they have a top 50 player, and that's not good enough.
No, it's not. And you can argue, do you have to have a higher than a top 20? I think that's most likely going to have to come from within.
Draft and develop someone?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't see how else it's going to come. It'd be nice, but I think it's too much of an ask to expect that or even hope for that. It's more of hope is, I don't have a lot of stock in the word hope. But even in this case, if I use the word hope, that's not good enough. It's like a pipe dream. It's worse than hope.
Because it's going to lead to nothing.
Yeah.
You're going to have all this hope and get yourself fired up and then just be let down anyway.
If AA pulls this off, build a statue right there. And that would be awesome if they could do it. We'd all love it if it would be happening. But I just can't see it. And to me, the only way that it could happen is if you gave up the farm. And then what do you got?
Not enough around him.
Yeah.
You could end up like Phoenix.
And so then you're just trading that guy again in hopes to recoup what you already had in terms of assets? Which
apparently Phoenix is about to do.
That. That's why I never bought, they're not going to have their draft picks. They don't have them right now, but you don't need them in February. You need them in June. So I never bought that. I thought, well, that's a simple problem to solve if you're so inclined to solve it. Just trade this dude, and you'll get some of that back. You may not get all of it, but you get some of it, and then you can make another move and all. I don't think any situation in the NBA with the right management is absolutely hopeless and a foregone conclusion. Maybe in the immediacy, but check back in 3 to 4 to 5 years.
Okay, yeah, if you give them 5 years.
Well, if the Jazz are in the finals in 5 years, who's complaining?
Right. Bradley Beal has 2 more years of big money, and that seems like a big problem for Phoenix. But you're right, to your point about 5 years, well, that gives them 3 years to bounce back after that deal's up. I don't know if they can get anybody to take that contract. We'll see.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they can get these first-round picks for Durant this year and next year, sit Beal, make it. We've seen that where they just sit somebody and then the guy wants out and he'll take whatever to get out.
If you go 5 years out, everything changes in the NBA. You can't possibly predict 5 years down the road.
Yeah, and we're already into year 3 for what the Jazz are doing. So let's just go 2 years. That doesn't seem that long. But I resist and reject this idea of you can't just go a 10-game improvement. Because somehow you're capped out. Ceilinged out, not capped out. It takes on a different meaning. Potential out. I don't buy that. Just because whatever. If you make moves to help you win 10 more games, Hardy right there is in Coach of the Year category. And there's more good times. And then you make other moves to make you another 10 games. You're going to have to get to that 10-game improvement at some point.
How many wins do you think if they just played the team they have?
I don't know the team they have.
There's no big moves. They draft somebody.
Yeah, but I have no idea who they're going to draft. So, ask me in 3 weeks. It's too soon. I get your point, valid question, but I think it's too soon. Who knows what's going to happen? Let's go on 2 weeks from tomorrow or 2 weeks from Friday. I think that's a far more legitimate question on that. I think right there that could be a 10-game improvement. But the roster today is not going to be the roster September 1st.
Something's got to happen.
Yeah.
Austin comes in. It's a stand-pat summer.
What's the point? He could have stayed in Boston.
Yeah.
Now, you don't want to go crazy. You don't want to think, oh, man, I'm a new kid here, and I got this name that matches the name of the CEO, so I got to just hit a home run right off the bat. I wouldn't want him to feel that pressure. He's got the job. He's got the last name. Okay. Great for him. Fortunate for him. He also, at the same time, spent 15 years toiling to get to this point. So both can be true. He paid his dues, but he got in because of the name way back when. All right. And he would not only not be the first, he'd be probably the 1,000th in the NBA in the history of the league, right?
I would take, if you offered me the number 1,000, I'd take the over.
Yeah. So all that matters now is what the man does on the job. He's not going to be judged on his last name. He's going to be judged on his first and last name and how he does this job. That's how it's going to be at this point. You got to get over it. Irsay just died. Well, who got the team? His 3 daughters. The janitor's son, like me, didn't get it.
How did he get the team?
Well, obviously.
From his dad.
Yeah. So, way to go. So you can sit and complain about it if you don't have that last name, or you can go bust your butt and get yourself in a situation that you're happy with. That's me. That's you. Right? So here we are. That's Yak. So away we go. Same thing here with Austin. Now go do the job. But don't feel like, oh my gosh, you just got to go nuts right off the bat. Don't do something stupid just to do something, which I don't think he'll do. I really don't have any worry about that. But we've seen with the Phoenix thing, Ishbia going nuts, and he made it way worse. If he just would have, I bought the team, and I'm going to live in Michigan and come in because it's nice weather in the winter, ready to break, they'd probably be better off.
Strong argument for that. But he put his thumb on the scales, and so they are where they are.
Yeah. Right. So go ahead and if you can make the team 10 games better with a move that fits, not just design, I'm going to make the team 10 games better right now. No, because you're looking at making the team better 10 games in 25, 26. Where are you, 26, 27, and so forth? Because I think you have those opportunities there. And if you can do that now, do it. We need some more positivity in the results category.
I wonder who it is that they like, or Austin personally likes.
In the league you're talking about.
In the league, who's already in the league, not draft picks, who's already in the league, who they think is underutilized and can be better.
Wembanyama.
Nope.
I think they like him.
I think they do too. I don't think he's underutilized. And
he sat out most of the season here.
Yeah, that was for health. Not
That's
because the team didn't think
underutilized.
he could play.
Yeah, he's currently holed up in a Shaolin temple in China.
Right, and didn't he cut off all his hair?
He shaved his head and everything.
Yeah. So, I'm not sure they're those types of players. I can tell you the type of player that he likes. A Marcus Smart type. The gritty dude who's going to get every part of his body dirty if that's what it takes to win. I'm very confident in my conversations. Not saying they're going to acquire him. That's not the point. You
But
asked
that
what
type of player.
Yeah.
Yeah. He played really hard. He played with an edge.
Yeah.
Did the dirty work. Wasn't the leading scorer.
Right. And I think he's inclined to go after that type of player. And then build from there. have guys who bleed winning. Not who are casual about winning, but bleed winning.
Yeah, casual about winning will disappoint you at some point.
Yeah.
You got to be all in.
Yeah. I mean, when you get that combined with great talent, then you're onto something. I just heard yesterday, I was just cruising, looking for stuff that's out there, and I can't remember who said it, and I should have wrote it down. He said, if you want to play high school ball, this is a pro, and bugging me that I can't remember who said it. If you want to play high school ball, you must have the fundamentals down, whatever sport it is.
Mm-hmm.
And they all have different fundamentals. But you have to have that. And if you have that, you can get on that high school team. Then, if you have talent with that combined, then you have the chance to go to that next level, as they say. And then, depending on what level of talent, then you can take it even beyond that, right? And he was saying that, and oh man, I think it was a baseball guy talking about that, and that he felt like that stuff is really missing today. You know, you need to do the things the way the game was intended to play. You must excel at them, because those things don't necessarily take a ton of talent. You know, it takes discipline, it takes work, but you can acquire that. So that's a Marcus Smart kind of guy. So they could use those types of guys. But, you know, you got to get the big dog, and that's the hardest thing to do, obviously. That's why these teams are still playing and the other teams aren't.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Bob Casper, Real Golf Radio co-host, joins us at 8 o'clock. We'll talk about this with Tim LaComb at 8:30, Jazz analyst for SEG Media. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
The Jazz named Austin Ainge the new president of basketball operations.
Obviously, the job is to win. That's the most important thing, and that's what Austin Ainge is going to be tasked with doing, and he's going to have to figure out how to turn this thing into a winning program again, which it's not right now. The nepotism angle is obviously there. It's how he got his job in Boston. It's how he got this job in Utah. When your dad is the CEO of a team and you come in as the president of basketball operations and you have the same last name, obviously that plays a part. However, he has been doing this for 17 years with the Boston Celtics and has seen a championship team.
But I think people complaining about that are being naive. Nepotism happens all around us.
It does.
And you know what? In basketball in particular, it is rampant.
It is.
There's at least half a dozen Nepo head coaches in the league right now.
Yeah.
And some are good and some are not.
The nice thing is that is ultimately how you get judged. It doesn't matter who your dad was. It's did you win or not.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
The artist of the day today is Jason Aldean. It's brought to you by Live Nation. For all the live concerts and events in 2025, check out livenation.com. We're giving away tickets to see Jason Aldean later today. We'll do that about an hour from now. So,
and no, I have not seen him, so don't ask me again.
Be here for that. Question of the morning. What should the Jazz do? Derek, let Lowry play, build his value, then trade him before the deadline. Other than that, I got nothing. After the failed tankage, they put themselves in a tough spot.
So I think his value is already high. Basically, I think it's as high as it can be.
Think people understand why he had an off year with the stats last year?
He played 47 games. He didn't have a year.
He did. That counts. I get it's not a full season, but they also know what was going on.
Yeah, but there was no way for him to get in any form of rhythm. I also think he's not as good as that half-season all-star spiel.
If you start thinking he's a top 25 player, he's not. He's in the next 25.
But he's good. 7-footer who can shoot and move and do those types of things, and he's not going to cause any trouble. So, yeah, I mean, he has value in this league. I think Collins, Sexton have the most value of the what we consider the tradable guys. You can put other guys in there. I mean, the Lakers would die to get Kessler.
Shane says package number 21 with another asset or two to go get a second top 10 pick.
Oh, yeah. I'd do that.
What's the asset? I mean, Collins or Kessler?
What's the pick?
Sexton? That's good. Good comeback. Good comeback. Not one or two.
All right, 3? Yeah. Who do you want?
I'd be surprised if they got anything above them in the draft.
Understood, but you said 1 and 2.
I did. 1 and 2 is sad.
I'd give up Sexton to get
someone in the top 10 you believe in.
6. Well, you already got 5, so take that off the board.
Yeah.
3, 4, 6. Yeah.
That's where you have to know, okay, who does Austin Ainge really believe in? You know, he's been scouting these guys. He said even though, the Celtics don't have a top pick, he said everybody scouts those guys because there might be a trade draft night and you might have a chance to acquire them 2, 3, 4 years down the line.
Well, that's what you do.
So he's hip deep in all of these. Who does he love?
Yeah, then you just got to hope it's not Johnny Flynn and Ricky Rubio.
He's got to be right. Yeah, he's got to be right.
I mean, those were 2 top 5 picks. I think they're 4 and 5. And then Steph Curry was out there at 6 or somewhere in there. So yeah, you gotta hit, man. That's another thing too, and the reason why the Suns sucked for 10 years is go look at their first round draft choice. They had high picks, and most of them were just awful. They were. Go look at them.
All right, here we go. I'll call it up.
Yeah, not in the last 3 or 4 years. I'm talking about when they had those high picks. Yeah. They're just Alex Len, Marquise, what was his last name? Grissom, something like that, from Washington. Nothing. Josh Jackson, nothing. There's some really bad Clipper-like
Scalabissier. Who?
Yeah. What pick was that?
First round, 28th pick.
Okay, but I'm talking about
4th pick, Dragan Bender.
Yeah, I'm talking about top 10 picks.
Don't remember anything from him. Josh Jackson with the number 4 pick.
Right, nothing.
DeAndre Ayton with the number 1. Jarrett Culver with the number 6.
Yeah. No, and no.
Now, Alex Len, that was the 2 years before Devin Booker. Right. So your chance to build a core, to hit the way the Thunder did on 3 draft picks in 3 or 4 years.
Alex Len? No.
You hit on Booker in 2015, but you missed on Bender in 2016, and you missed on Len in 2013.
Booker was the lowest of those picks. I think
he went at 13.
13, yeah.
Yeah, he's in double digits.
Lyles at 12. And the word was they were going to take whoever the Jazz didn't take. And Booker's a player. And they missed on him.
And they had 4 picks at 13, and yeah.
And the Suns took him.
Booker got him. The Suns got Booker with a 13, but they took Markieff Morris with a 13, Kendall Marshall with a 13, and Georgios Papagiannis.
Isn't that a pizza place?
Greek center. I've got
you
no.
You make your own pizza? Is that what it is? Papa John's?
It wasn't Papa John's. Papa Giannis. If Giannis Antetokounmpo bought Papa John's, it would become Papa Giannis.
I'm sure he could if he wanted to.
If he wanted to.
But yeah, having the picks, I would do that trade. But you gotta cash in. And right now, their 2 highest picks, one's an I don't know, and the other might be an uh-oh.
Taylor Hendricks, you don't know.
No.
Didn't get to see that second year. See what
I still have a level of optimism with him that he's a serviceable dude.
I do too.
Worst.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cody Williams, if you're firing scouts over him, that must mean that's bad. And he was awful this year, but I'm not ready to make a definitive conclusion. But we'll see, man. He's got to step it up next season.
Didn't expect either one of them to come in and dominate, but you want to see flashes and you want to see moments. And we saw that with Taylor Hendricks.
very, very briefly, though.
Exactly.
But he spent most of that first season in the G League. So if they send Williams to the G League, that is an awful sign. Right off the bat. Awful sign. Hendricks is not going to be in the G League. Let's see what he has.
Yes.
But I think that's going to work. Not saying he's going to be a superstar. Not saying he's going to be as good as Gordon Hayward was because they were taken right around the same location in the draft. But obviously that needs to be developed still. And Williams, right now, I think every one of us, as we evaluate Taylor Hendricks, at worst, we're neutral. Not so with Williams.
The flashes that we saw out of Taylor Hendricks, we didn't see out of Cody.
Yeah.
He looked really overmatched.
But let's see what the kid's got, man.
Just hope he puts on some weight, gains some strength.
He knows it.
Plays with more confidence. Right. No, he could not have been happy with that.
He comes from a military family. They're disciplined. We hear that all the time.
And no excuses and no whining.
Father was in the Air Force, right?
No excuses, no whining.
Yeah. So anything we say about him, he's already heard, which that ought to provide as much ammo as possible. Nobody believes in you, son. Your team doesn't. They fired scouts, is what we're told. So what do you got? It's up to you. You're the one who's going to decide. It's not going to be Will Hardy. They can help develop you for sure, but they're not going to ultimately decide whether you make it. You are. And that's good. That's a good position to be in. My fate doesn't rest with anybody else but me.
DJ PK, when we come back, our fate in the U.S. Open draft. Bob Casper joins us from Oakmont next, and then Tim LaComb, Jazz analyst at 8:30. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone, and it is time to welcome Bob Casper back to the show. U.S. Open golf getting underway this week at Oakmont, and guess who's at Oakmont? Bob. Bob, good morning.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. This is going to be a good one. We're going to see a lot of difficult shots and a lot of carnage this week with the U.S. Open because this is one brute of a golf course.
A lot of people say, 53 years ago, somewhere in there, that Johnny Miller's round in Oakmont was the best round ever to win it. And I know you were into golf at that time. What do you remember about that?
I wasn't here. I know my dad was here playing that week, and he was interviewed, and he said, you can 3-putt from 3 feet here pretty easily here at Oakmont. The greens are extremely, extremely fast, and that's why he made that comment. But it was a phenomenal round by Johnny. He had 2 4-hole stretches where he made birdies, 1 through 4, and then a 9 through 12, and then made one more birdie on the 14th hole. Only had 1 bogey, and that was a 3-putt bogey at the 8th hole, the par 3. And that 63 was pretty amazing, no doubt, PK.
And you were telling me a story that something happened on the earlier in the day. He was practicing.
Driving range?
Yeah, the driving range.
Driving range. So the interesting thing is he forgot his yardage card on Saturday's round. And there weren't any on the sprinkler heads. There weren't any yardages on sprinkler heads or anything like that. And he struggled in Saturday's round. I think he shot 76, so 5 over par. So he gets to the golf course. He's practicing on the golf course, and he's having a rough time. And he had this little thought come into his head that said, open up your stance just a little bit. And he started striping it. And then, of course, he shot 63 in the final round. It's pretty cool.
Best round in a major, do you think?
Yes, no doubt about it. 63 is the lowest round in the major so far, and I think there's been 3 or 4 that have shot 63 in majors. But in a U.S. Open here at this golf course, yeah, unbelievable best round, no doubt.
They talk about this course. If you're looking for the miracle shot, you're not going to find it in the rough. So you're going to have to just play it out of the rough and then get the miracle shot. Is that an accurate assessment?
Yeah, the guys are talking about lies in the rough and how far you can advance it and that kind of thing. Guys have tried to hit 6 irons out of the rough. The ball doesn't come out. For the most part, you're just going to have to wedge it out and get it back in the position where, the worst you're going to make is a bogey. Bogeys will not hurt you this week. The big numbers will hurt you as far as double bogeys, triple bogeys, that kind of thing. Dustin Johnson had one double bogey in 2016 and still won the golf tournament. So it's pretty crazy. I'm sure we've all seen it, but guys will take a ball and drop it into the rough and it nestles down like it's in a bird's nest. Or sometimes guys will hit a shot and they can't find their ball. I had one on the par 3 16th. I hit a shot and it went down to the right of the green, and I couldn't find the golf ball. It's crazy how deep this stuff is, and they're wanting it harder. They want it tougher. The members here want this golf course as tough as it can be, and it's looking like 5 to 6 inches in the rough, and probably about 14.5 to 15 for the speed of the greens. And the members played the greens at 18 on the stent meter when they have their member guests and that kind of thing. So it's going to be an unbelievable test of golf.
And I guess because it's built in a hilly area and because it's old and they couldn't move as much dirt as they move now, a lot of these fairways, even if you hit them, the ball's going to run into the rough. The greens slope away from you going down some hill. So if you hit it on the green, you can't stop it. It sounds brutal.
Yeah, it's, the greens have, the third hole is pretty flat as far as the green is concerned, and it's pretty square. Some of the greens have some undulation in them, and you can hit some shots into that undulation and collect kind of into a lower area and stop. But you'll see the ball catch one of those collection areas too and slide off the side of the green and in onto the fringe. So it's really difficult to stop. I know Zach Blair yesterday from 122 yards in the middle of the fairway on the first hole, he putted the ball and it went 122 yards, rolled down the fairway, up onto the green and back to the pin. I think he knocked it within about 5 feet, which was pretty crazy. It's, the fairways, like you said, they're cut short. If we get warm weather, the fairways will dry out, and then it will become very, very difficult, as you said, as the ball rolls and collects off the fairways and into the rough. If we get moisture, which they're looking like they're going to get moisture on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then the ball will stop up in the fairway a little bit easier and won't run as much. So it all depends on the weather as to whether this is going to be a really brutal U.S. Open or it's going to be a little bit tamer. But the head pro who was here for a long time,
the head pro who's here for a long time doesn't want Bob to comment on this. All right, Bob, we lost you there for a minute.
Hello?
Carla, speak up. Turn down your radio.
Whew, man, I'm glad I'm not just trying to make it in my radio career right now. That'd be very dangerous.
All right. Y'all can get Bob back on.
Well, it makes it sound like it's going to be the ultimate challenge, which is fun. It has its uniqueness. It's the U.S. Open, man. Just the very title just grabs you.
That's true, but I don't like sitting around watching just guys just make bogey.
I mean, but people say that, but that rarely ever happens anyway. Go ahead,
Hey, Bob.
So what I was saying is if there's a lot of weather, the ball will stop in the fairway. and we're expecting weather on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But if it stays dry, then you're going to see the ball collect to, like you said, DJ the rough. And so the winning score could be anywhere from, 5 under par to 5 over par. Pretty easy on this golf course.
So you were talking about moisture on Friday. Did you say Saturday and Sunday or just Friday?
And Saturday and Sunday, too.
Well, then, Bob, of course, with that moisture, we're going to be grateful for the moisture, aren't we?
Yeah, if we can keep the balls in the fairway, yeah. That's the big thing this week is getting the ball in the fairway and having an opportunity to hit shots into the greens. Because if you hit it in the rough, it's going to, like you said, it's going to be a pitch out, and then it's a matter of hitting the really good shot and trying to conserve a par, at worst bogey.
So do you think the only thing that could stop Scotty Scheffler is law enforcement?
That's at the PGA Championship, not here in the U.S. Open.
Okay, that's just that one.
Yep, just that one.
All right.
All right, Bob, it's time to get to the draft now, and PK's got a new rule he wants to introduce.
Oh, you have to. You're the president. You have to ratify it.
But first, you'll introduce it.
Hey,
you're the CEO, though.
Yeah, hey, you own this. I mean, you're the boss. You've got the A1 type personality, not me. I always lay back.
Are you talking to DJ or me?
I'm talking to DJ.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
was hoping so.
It's getting a little boring because we know you're going to pick Scheffler and then McIlroy. I want to spice it up a little bit, man. And so sometimes, you ever heard of football polls where you can pick the Chiefs, but you can only pick them one time over the course of 17 games. I didn't know that we're going to, and so I was thinking about doing this, but I thought we would just follow it out since we're halfway done.
Oh, okay.
But if you want to, you as the deciding vote, you can implement your power. You're the commissioner.
I think it has to be unanimous here because we're changing the rules after 2 majors. What do you say, Bob? You want to change them? Mix it up? I mean, you don't want to draft Rory anyway.
Well, he's going to draft Scheffler.
I know,
but I am because I haven't used him yet.
Yeah, I took. You took Scheffler at the Masters. I took him at the PGA when he won.
Yeah,
nice.
And Bob Casper's going to take him at the U.S. Open.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm going to.
All right. Well,
100%.
Then this one here, we only have 2 picks. Scheffler, the field.
So I'll take the field, and what does that leave you?
The field. We both win.
We both take the field.
You know what,
Scheffler all week?
You know what, PK? It's been a long time since we heard one player against the field, and that was Tiger Woods.
Agreed.
And now we're here. And now we're hearing Scheffler against the field. So yeah,
agreed. I was listening to the Golf Channel driving in this morning. They were interviewing Eric Church, a country music star, and he was saying that they were saying the very same thing. That this is the time. This is of all times. This is the time that goes back to Tiger. Not the Masters, not the PGA. This very tournament this week is what I'm saying.
Yep.
All right, with the second pick, I'm going to take
good stuff.
I'm going to take Ben Griffin. He has won 2 of his last 6 starts. He had a second at the Memorial. He tied for 8 at the PGA. Didn't play in the Masters. So I'm going with the hot golfer. I'm not going with a familiar name, PK. You're welcome. Ben Griffin.
For me. He's been winning.
Okay.
They mentioned him on the Golf Channel this morning.
Okay.
Literally, nobody has drafted him in our little draft here in the first 2 tournaments.
Because he hasn't been hot. Now he's hot.
Okay.
And I'll spice it up. I'll let you 2 pick, and then I'll pick.
We did. It's your
turn.
turn.
No, I'm talking about all 3 picks.
No, just pick somebody.
No. Because I'm going to go way out of bounds here.
Go ahead.
I'm going to go in the rough.
Go.
I want to hear it.
I haven't decided yet. I got to see who you're picking. How can I decide?
You are so difficult. Why are you being so difficult?
It's my nature. I was, as Lady Gaga sang, I was born this way.
Oh, boy. Wow.
Go ahead, Bob. You're up.
I'm up?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to take Colin Morikawa.
Okay.
And the reason I'm taking him is he is second on tour for fairways hit at 72%. And the last 3 or 4 winners of this tournament have hit around 70% of their fairways.
I couldn't take him. He's already, I've already drafted him. So under that theory that I better find someone who can hit fairways, I'm going to go ahead and go, even though I'm not feeling great about this, Sepp Straka.
That's a good pick. That's a good pick. And now it's my turn.
He's 12th in driving accuracy.
Well, that's the exception. See what I did there? Exception.
I really didn't, but thanks for spelling it out. Okay.
Okay, hold on a second. I got to look at my list.
Oh, he's writing it down.
Okay, I'm going to go a guy that was leading here in 2016 by 4 shots and then lost in the final day to Dustin Johnson. I'm going to go Shane Lowry.
Ah, the Irishman. Have yourself a Guinness.
Yep.
You have Guinness, Bob?
Never.
Me either.
Haven't had one.
Have you been to Ireland?
This is so
I've been to
random.
Ireland.
This is the most random segment. I really don't believe he'll win back-to-back years, but it seems crazy because he's always in the mix, so I'll go ahead and take DeChambeau. I haven't taken him this year.
Okay. Well, so let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Does this rule mean that you can't ever pick them?
No, just
or
per
does
season.
this rule mean you just can't?
This
pick
means
them
nobody
first?
can take Scheffler at the Open Championship next
just
month.
per season.
Yeah. In the 4 majors in 2025, you can draft a player one time.
Just one time.
Yeah, you're done.
Like in the 25 football season, you can only pick one team once.
Yeah.
And see how long you can go.
Okay.
And we're going to do that, by the way. This
Okay.
football
All right,
season.
PK. So you're drafting 7, 8, 9.
Yes, I am.
All right. Who are you taking?
Let's see. I'm going to go a little baseball karma. Last night, the Pirates.
Last night, BT and I went to the Pirates and Marlins game.
That's a beautiful stadium. I love parking
It is.
on the other side of the bridge and walking across.
Yep, it's pretty cool.
And we did that. Yeah, it's so scenic. And I believe that Min-Woo Lee threw out the first pitch.
It was the night before.
Okay, the night before. So 2 nights ago.
Yep.
So I'm going to go with him. And
Min-Woo Lee, that's a good pick. I like that.
He painted the black on that. 72 miles an hour. Fastball. Min-Woo Lee.
All right.
Plus, it's fun to say.
Okay, Min-Woo Lee.
Min-Woo Lee. You got it?
Got it.
Got it.
That's the first pick.
Really? It really is random today.
Now, are
too.
we instituting you can't go with prior picks?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know. You're the CEO.
You have not picked Min-Woo Lee this year, so that was a legit pick.
Right.
Yeah,
All right.
that's a good pick.
But I did pick Joaquin Newman, I think. Because I was going to go all foreigners.
You took him round 2. You took
All right.
Joaquin Neiman
So
round 2
he's
of the
out.
PGA.
He's
Right.
out.
He's out.
I want to go all foreigners this time.
Okay.
So I'm going to go my second pick, Brooks Koepka.
That's not a foreigner.
Have you seen his wife?
She's not a foreigner either.
She looks like one. I'm telling you, from outer space.
I knew the outer space thing was coming.
So you're taking Brooks for number 2. Okay.
Didn't you watch Full Swing that first?
Yeah.
Yep.
That didn't look like anything I see.
That was fairly awkward, is what that was.
Right.
Yeah.
That wasn't your typical American. So that's foreign to me. I don't know anybody who runs around like that in that bathing suit.
Min-Woo Lee, Brooks Koepka, moving along, Kinahan.
And third?
Don't rush me. I'm going to go a combination of Victor Hovland and Ludwig Aberg. So I'm going to go Victor Aberg.
Pick one.
Victor Aberg?
Pick one.
Okay, so what?
I can't. I couldn't take Ludwig. I thought about it, but I drafted him in both the previous. Yeah, I'm in that mode. I'm going to draft him till he wins, and this rule stopped me.
Worked for me for Dustin Johnson.
I know, it did.
And did you see those pictures of Dustin Johnson and his wife, Bob?
Yes, I did.
I knew you did. What'd you think?
Brian Taylor showed them to me.
It's his fault.
It's all his fault.
This isn't an ecclesiastical interview, Bob.
Bob was at the bus stop.
Yeah.
And here comes Brian with his lunch sack and a magazine that apparently his dad
lunch
got.
sack. I would have just said bag, but that's me.
Yep. Okay, so getting back to the pick.
Yeah, your last pick as you drag this out. Are you taking Hovland?
I already told you.
Or Ludwig?
Yes.
You can't take both.
Oh,
Pick one.
rats.
Can't take both.
All right. Let's see. All right, I'll go Oberg. This one,
Ludwig
and then
Oberg.
next one I'll go Hovland. Next one being in next month, obviously.
Next month. Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay.
So those are my guys.
Okay.
I go in all foreigners.
Except for Brooks.
Man. Bob isn't. He's baiting me to go through the explanation again.
Let's not do
That's
that.
what he's doing.
No, I'm not.
So
Not at all.
there's a couple people that didn't get picked here, and I thought about picking them, but I didn't. What do you think about Russell Henry and Corey Connors?
Russell Henley, I think, is a really good pick. Yeah, I think he would be a great pick this week.
Yeah.
A guy, he's not too long, but he hits the ball really good and fairly straight. So, yeah, he'd be a good pick for this week.
But your boy Brian liked Cantlay too.
Yeah, Cantlay, that's a sneaker pick as well. No doubt about it. Yep.
All right. Well, we didn't pick those guys, so those are the guys who can win, and then we can all be frustrated later.
Yep. And then
I couldn't pick
do,
Henley.
DJ?
I couldn't pick Henley because I looked him up and he got cut at the Masters and he missed the cut again at the PGA Championship. His other results have been really good. I mean, he's having a good year, but in the two majors he came up empty. So I stayed away from him. That was the hitch.
Well, so DJ, make sure you get a list out to us of the ones we picked, and so that we know who we can for next time.
Yeah, and DJ said if somebody else wins, we'll all be frustrated. See, that's the good thing about Koepka. No, he won't.
Yep, that's right.
All right, Bob, we will let you go,
Okay,
and
boys.
I am hitting send right now with this draft and the others as well.
Perfect.
There you go. Thank you, Bob.
Appreciate it, buddy.
All right.
Take care, guys.
There was the most chaotic draft. That would be, the comparison to that in real life.
What?
And Yak will back me up on this. You probably didn't see it because it was late and you probably went to bed. But I was working, and the comparison to that draft in real life, Yak, wouldn't it be the 2020 NFL draft when they did it remotely and the commissioner was falling asleep in a chair in his house?
And Bill Belichick's dog was running the draft.
Yeah, and
at
then
one
Belichick's
point.
dog, that's what it'd be.
And Mike Vrabel just vacated.
The
at one
commissioner,
point.
who's usually pretty serious, is
Was
sitting there
legit.
joking about, like, I'm going to fall asleep. I'm nodding off here.
Yeah, he was.
That's what that was.
Yeah.
All right, when we come back, Tim LaComb, jazz analyst, SEG Media, joins us. And then a Win Tickets Wednesday, we give away the tickets in 30 minutes right here on The Zone.
Accessing.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
Eric Weddle, kind enough to join us. You find out you're up for the College Football Hall of Fame. What's your first thought when you get that phone call?
Just humbled by it all, quite honestly. I think I have a real shot is the College Football Hall of Fame. I don't think I have any shot at the NFL Hall of Fame. So when I look at the College Football Hall of Fame, I think, yeah, I belong there at some point, whether it's now or 10 years from now. Like, I think I belong as one of the best college football players to have played the game. So whenever it happens, or if it happens, like, you guys know me, I live life to the fullest. It's not going to change whether I fall asleep at 10 o'clock or midnight. I got many other things that are on my mind. But it's really humbling and truly honored, obviously, and know that it took coaches, players, faculty, family, wife, kids. Like, it doesn't happen alone.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Join Hans and Scotty G today from noon to 3. They're going to be at Kenny J's Barbecue. Mouth-watering ribs, savory brisket, and all your barbecue favorites. 11610 District Drive in South Jordan. DJ and PK, time to welcome Tim LaComb back to the show, Utah Jazz analyst for the SEG Media. Tim, good morning.
Good morning. Do you fancy yourself barbecue guys?
I'm no expert in it. I mean, I like it. But
well, then get over to Kenny's, man.
People who can sit there and rank their favorite 50 places, yeah, I can't do that.
No, me neither. Hey, barbecue's barbecue.
Now, see, those are fighting words. Hans and Scotty would totally disagree.
I understand, and that's kind of why I said it.
There you go. Question of the morning. What moves should the Jazz make? Elbow Austin Ainge right in the ribs. Knock him out of that chair. Take the big chair for yourself. What would you do?
I would make good moves.
Yeah, okay, good. Well, yeah, I'd make great ones, so there.
No, it's crazy because I think part of making a great deal is understanding the marketplace and understanding what's going on. And I think through the years, that's certainly been a strength of Danny Ainge, certainly Austin Ainge, in Boston. But it really is a big part of it. It's hard to conjecture into the void. And, there's a lot of things going on. Watch Twitter every day. Tons of things being reported about this guy's available, that guy's available. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to moves that make you better. For the long term, the Jazz have a ton of capital, a lot of different directions they could go. But it really depends on who's willing to make somebody available out there, who's willing to deal. But there are certainly a lot of interesting names around the league, both in terms of the players that are coming up on free agency or part of trades, and then the whole draft thing is really intriguing every year.
One of the things that I keep hearing is that, you don't want to just make yourselves a little bit better because you want to make yourselves great. I'm wondering if that's possible without getting a little bit better before you get great. I mean, you look at OKC and look at their trajectory, and that's exactly what they did, and now they're great. So why not, if you have an opportunity, particularly not with a 35-year-old, but with somebody who's basically to me, I said earlier that if you could give me, I would trade John Collins for John Collins 5 years younger. He's not going to make you great, but he can make you better. And as long as it fits in the timeline, why not go that way instead of trying to shoot for the moon, big game hunting, and then you come away with nothing all the time?
Well, I think there's a lot to be said for that, and I think that's one of the things I'm excited to see. The way you build a roster nowadays is vastly different. I think the way that you've got to wedge salaries in and make everything work, there's a lot of complexity, and then I think what has not changed is understanding personnel and players. And, I really liked the move the Jazz made to get John Collins. He was a guy that I really liked around the league, watching the Jazz play against him, and there's guys like that, that if made available and the deal fits, the Jazz could make it. But I think that is the essence of building a team now is you've got to do it through the draft. You've got to do it with wise moves in free agency, obviously trades, and then, all that draft capital the Jazz have, it's stuff that, is very valued, particularly by organizations out there that have made their road a little harder by giving everything away. And so there's a lot of appeal to what the Jazz have to offer, and it's just a matter of, who's interested in what piece and what are they willing to give you for it.
You think there's any chance for that 21 pick and an asset or two? How far up do you think you could trade? How far up would it be possible to move? We've had some people who really want a second top 10 pick in this draft.
I'm not sure, depending on the trade and how it's structured. I mean, it's hard to get into the top 10, but once you're in there, moving around may be a little easier. So there's always been talk about the Jazz trying to move up with 5, but perhaps, a player in 21, can you get close to that? I would say you could probably get in the teens, but again, I'm not watching the market every day. That's just kind of where my gut goes for historic. But we're in a different time, and capital's viewed differently. So I think it's a great idea, great suggestion. But we'll see what direction they go here in not too long.
This is something that didn't seem possible in the dead of winter, particularly in January, but I thought when it got to the point of having a bunch of off-season workouts that Egor Demin would flourish and he'd be perceived as much better than maybe we perceived him in the team concept with BYU during the early part of the conference season. And he's one of 13 so far that have received an invite to the green room, which means that he's expected to go fairly high. That does not surprise me at all. Travis Hansen says he's expected to be, they expect his group between 7 and 12, I think it was. I think, I wouldn't shock me if he's a top 10 pick. What do you say to that as far as him and his draft status? Because it seems like it is really rising well.
No, I think you hit it on the head. It's I expect him to go in the top 10. I think his size, was really impressive. But what stood out to me the first time I watched him is his vision, his ability to see things, and just like everybody else, changes levels and changes, the leagues or what you're used to. Him coming over here was, that was different than what he expected, and I think playing through it and the highs and the lows, and not really focusing on. I think there was a time where he dropped down in mock drafts, quite a ways, and not to be affected by any of that, but just work. Get up every day and work. And it said a lot to me that team came around because he was the guy running the point, the guy with the ball in his hands. And I've seen teams that have a lot of talent, not be able to function on the court and really slide. But in this case, BYU went through some tough stuff, and then they were able to find their way. And I thought Egor was great, really, really good in the NCAA tournament. So I think his future is really bright. It's awesome that Travis is involved because he's a great influence and, really kind of understands, having gone through the NBA, that whole thing. So I think he can help him visualize and understand what's going on, kind of give him some coaching. But I fully expect him to go top 10, and I think he's got a chance to be a really good NBA player as he adds, more wisdom and more size.
Have you fallen in love with someone you think the Jazz should use the 5th draft pick on?
I really like Trey Johnson from what I watch. I mean, I think scoring is a big part. It's a premium in the league right now, particularly shooting, for a lot of different reasons. But, with Isaiah Collier, watching him play last year, how he gets guys shots, not just in the half court, but the minute he gets the ball in transition, eyes are up. If guys run the floor, you can really find them. And I think just more shooting, it never hurts. I really like Trey Johnson. I like Edgecombe. I think he's got a little burst to him. He's definitely got an NBA feel to him. And then, I like Con Knippel. I think he's a guy who can really function. PK, you talked about, getting in and playing and making an impact. I think he's a guy who can do that early because I think he understands, perhaps one of his greatest tools is his mind. And so he understands spacing and personnel and when to attack and when to move the ball. I think he has that great nuance. So, there's 3 names right there that should be kind of in the equation. And it really just depends on, what the Jazz decide where they want to go with that.
We've got a guy named Brian Getzeiler who does NBA TV and NBA radio. He's out of New Jersey, very close to where I grew up, so we have him on, and he is a talker. He proposed going after Malwatch, the big kid out of Duke, and then using Kessler as trade bait to potentially get another higher draft pick. I hadn't thought of that, but it intrigued me as far as that goes because he seems to be very high, and he talks to NBA people. He does shows with ex-NBA guys, Sam Mitchell, whomever it might be. I've heard him many times on NBA radio. And so he's thinking that might be something. And that was a new idea for me. What is your response to that?
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody. I mean, as much as I love Kessler and as much as I think he really played his way into some big money last year, I think the way he approached the season after having a lot of disappointment and working through it, I had a chance to talk to him a couple of times this year. And, one of the times I talked, he talked about how hard, it was mentally to get through it all. And so I think his approach and his mindset and his resolve was awesome. And then he put it all to good use. He became a absolutely dominant rebounder. We already knew about rim protection, but his rebounding in space, in traffic was eye-opening. His resolve to go get second chances for the Jazz was off the chart. That number was typically crooked most nights. But that being said, you're trying to build the team. You're trying to build a team fast. That gives you, in essence, another crack at it. If you're going to move Kessler, that's going to require something big. So, yeah, because I've heard great things about Malawach too. I think he's a guy who shares a lot of those same attributes. But they say it's better to have that bird in your hand than in the tree. And what you've got with Kessler. So that's just the mindset that goes into it. But your point, PK, is that you hadn't heard that, and it's intriguing. I would say the same.
Thunder Pacers Game 3. What do you think? Who you got? How's this going to go?
Originally talked about the Thunder winning in 6. Thought they'd split the first 2. I think Indiana, if they've got a chance to win another one, I think it's tonight, because that place is going to be insane. That arena and the sound and the crazy pride in the small market resembles Utah in some ways. And so you can imagine the next time Utah gets to a final, how crazy this place is going to be. And that's how Indiana is going to be tonight. So OKC is going to have to play through that emotion. Part of that emotion is not losing track of the pace of the game. The Indiana team is aptly named Pacers because they want to set that pace. They want to get up and down the floor. They want to make kind of a chaotic, crazy event out of it. And Oklahoma City really, they can play up tempo, but they really want to grind you into small pieces, by the end of the game. I think that's the fun part about this matchup. And I think, like I said, I think the Pacers are going to win another one. So I think they win tonight probably, and then I think Oklahoma City takes her home.
You said they're named the Pacers aptly because they want to set the pace. I always thought it was because of the auto racing.
Oh, I'll be darned! I didn't even. You're like that little mechanism that gets the rabbit that gets all the dogs all stirred up out of the races. I'm sure you spent some time there in Jersey.
The dog races. Going to the dog track, PK?
That was always my favorite thing. I'm going to take the golden retriever at 3.
Actually,
3 slot.
In Jersey, there's enough horse race tracks, including New York and all, that you could go in the off-track betting, which I spent a fair amount of time. The dog races were in Phoenix because my parents were going through withdrawals. What do we do at night? We've gone to Turf Paradise during the day.
Oh, so they went to the dog races. Yeah. Did you ever go to Highlight? Did you ever find Highlight?
No, that's more of a southeast thing. I don't think it was in the northeast.
Well, there was one in Newport, Rhode Island. I saw.
Oh,
there was a Highlight Dome.
Yeah, that's a little far.
People
from
go in there and bet their life on this game. It's just crazy.
Yeah, and that the reputation that had was not the best.
Not great.
Yeah, in terms of Louis the Fixer, those types of things.
Yeah, I was on a 2-year assignment to Newport, so I never quite made it into the Highlight. But I did surface around the outside, much like I did in Worcester, Massachusetts, outside of a Judas Priest concert.
Oh, you got another thing coming.
Oh, yes, you do. And we're always united.
Worcester, Massachusetts.
DJ's just sitting there looking at it. Like, I guarantee his face is disgusted right now. We get back.
Actually, I was about to tell you, back in the day, the agate page of the San Diego Union, the morning paper my parents took, had highlight results from Tijuana. And I asked my dad about it, and he just shook his head and walked away. Literally no words. No words. He just shook his head and walked away like, oh.
And he told your
That's a
mother,
gambling thing in
and
Tijuana.
then she denied you the privilege and opportunity to ever do that again and read that. And that was another thing that was on the restricted list in the Snigeldorf household?
No, that wasn't on the list. It was a long list, but that wasn't on it. I could read about highlight in the newspaper.
Yeah, I heard that was kind of fishy.
See, it all comes full circle. I'll get you guys back to Phoenix and San Diego, and all's right with the world.
Well, what were you eating for breakfast when you read that?
Either Raisin Bran or Cheerios. Probably. In all probability, I don't know.
This is
and
right
then
up
he
your
walked
alley,
out the
Tom.
door, took a hard left, went past the Snickerdorf's house. On the right was the Williams. They had this big backyard with a huge tree swing.
The Ketterings had their house in center field in our cul-de-sac, and they put a second story over the garage, and Mike Vitale homered over the second story. We thought that was a tape measure shot. We celebrated.
You
like
lived in
crazy.
a cul-de-sac. I lived in a tenement in Newark.
I've seen your house. All your poverty stuff about Jersey, I don't want to hear it.
Tenement.
He showed me a picture of the house. It was actually very nice.
That was an old house. We were just squatters.
Okay. Nice save. I guess we're done. I guess that's a symbol. Once the highlight talk is over, we've pretty much wrapped it up.
Hey, put that out there for the listeners. The best person to give you a description of highlight. Maybe wins one of Jake Hatch's flip-flops.
PK always said we're not going to become tennis radio, but highlight radio, hey, that's in play. That could happen.
There's plenty of room out in the West Desert. We could throw a dome out there.
Highlight's no longer played in Tijuana. The Highlight building is today used for concerts.
Thanks, Tim. Thank you. Appreciate it, buddy. Once again.
All right. Thanks, Tim. We'll talk to you.
See you guys.
When we come back, we're giving away concert tickets. Jason Aldean, the Full Throttle Tour, Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater, July 26th. You can win next. Stay with us.
Hey, bro. You hear us every day with our crazy opinions.
Hey, what you doing?
Well, now it's time to hear from you.
Hey, great show.
Download the KSL Sports app and fire off your thoughts with the call-in tab on the bottom of your screen.
Your show is fantastic. It's the one that captivates me the most.
You can tell PK to stop singing.
Cheap bangs! Cheap bangs!
Let Jake and Ben know what you really think of the Jazz. Tell Hans and Scotty about your favorite barbecue spot or what color of tie JJ should be wearing on TV. The best entries will be played on the air. Download the KSL Sports app now and hit the call-in button to let your voice be heard.
I think you guys do an incredible job.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Artist of the day is Jason Aldean because it's a Win Tickets Wednesday. And we're giving away Jason Aldean tickets. The Full Throttle Tour is at Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater, July 26th. Caller 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. Wins a pair of tickets. 801-575-ZONE. Call right now, and we'll send you to the concert.
Yeah.
If you're caller number 12. Question up on our Facebook page this morning. He got the invite. Egor Demin, one of 13 to receive an NBA draft green room invite. Maybe they'll add to that list, but it's 13 as of now. Who saw that coming? Travis Hansen. Told us he was going to go somewhere between 7 and 12, which is very specific. He wasn't just throwing around numbers out there. 10 or 15.
I believe
somewhere
they've
in the
got some
lottery.
intel from Portland, which I think drafts 11th. I think that's right. So I think that's out there. And there's been all sorts of favorable responses for the young man. I think it's awesome, yeah. I really felt like he would flourish. I can remember years ago Keith Van Horn telling me, hey, you want to see how I can really play? I said, what are you talking about? He said, we got to play in this system here. We got to do these things, blah, blah, blah. And he's a taskmaster. He said, come down to Westminster in the summers. Come down and watch me play there.
So you did?
Yeah.
And?
Yeah. He's going nuts.
Yeah.
And, he ends up being the second pick behind Tim Duncan, right? And I remember that conversation. Said, don't just judge me by what you see here. And I think when you get in those workouts, they're sort of like a 7-on-7 in the sense that they're not real NBA basketball. And that he was going to work on it and that he was going to show much better. The tentativeness that we may have seen during the season was going to be out the window. And from that perspective, the word I had got is he's going to show real well. And he did. And now they're talking about Travis saying 7 to 12. And Travis is the guy's advisor. He's going to be back in New York here in a couple of weeks. 2 weeks from today is the draft, first round. And so they feel real confident. I think we talk a lot about potential and ceiling and all this. I think this kid's just sky high because he's already got stuff that just jump out at you.
6'9", passes the ball really well, sees the floor.
Vision, you see over guys.
Super long, all that stuff. Yeah, double team him with a couple of 6'4" guys. He doesn't care. He's right over the top.
Gnats in his face.
Exactly.
Get away from me. And so he's going to get stronger, all those types of things.
Everybody's missing something, but he's missing something that maybe he can develop. The 6'4" guy isn't going to turn into 6'9" guy. But the 6'9" guy might become a good perimeter shooter.
Well, you just have to be a threat of an effective shooter.
Exactly. Yeah. If they leave you, someone's got to rotate to you, they got to come back to you.
Right.
It can't be the old Ricky Rubio or Ronnie Brewer, a couple of Jazz guys who they would leave and then pretty much just not come back to. Like, we'll take our chances with you. Probably Kirilenko for a while.
The Jazz were always really good when Rubio was hot.
Yeah. Yes. If he had it going, because the whole plan was we can't worry about him.
Yeah.
We got to stop these other guys, and we're going to use his defender.
Right. Because he did everything else. He knew how to run an offense, obviously. And I think that Egor will do that, and we'll see the level of effectiveness he can be. His shot doesn't look broken at all. It looks like with just repetition, confidence, and the right type of shot. I don't think, he's going to go cross over somebody and shoot a three. It's just the ball gets swung to him maybe off an offensive rebound, and he's wide open. That's the type of shot that I think he can have success with. So I'm really excited for him and his development. Now, I think that for BYU, it's sort of a little bit of a mixed blessing in that, okay, you're going to have this high pick. Well, why didn't he show that as much in college? That's why I think it's super important for DeBonsa to hit the ground running and have a Cooper Flagg-like season. The Flagg had some screw-ups early. I remember watching one game down at the end, and he tried to do a little swing move, and he lost control of the ball, and the Duke lost the game. I think it was against Arizona, maybe. So, you can have that. But I think that, okay, you've developed NBA guys, but I think, too, you need to develop them also while they're here in Provo. You can't go higher than number one, obviously, but maybe if Egor had a better season, he might go higher than whatever he goes. We're anticipating DeBonsa or the kid that's going to Kansas, being the number one pick in the 26th draft. And so in order for that to happen, it's important because you could argue that Demin's stock fell at BYU. It didn't increase. It only increased until when he got to the off-season workouts. So I think for BYU, they need to have AJ keep that lofty status the whole time. That's the best situation for Kevin Young and his ability to develop NBA players.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. When we come back, more suggestions for Jazz moves. We will get to that next. Stay with us.
Business owners, today's your lucky day. I'm about to tell you to do what I say. What do you think, huh? Pretty good impression?
Decent.
Come on, I'm not an impressionist over here. I'm not Dana Carvey. Hey, but what I can do, I can take you for a ride and make your business even better. Here's what you need to do. If you're a business owner, I want to endorse your product, right? Yeah, get with PK. We're both winners. And let's take it to another level. It's simple. All you got to do is text PK to 57500, and our sales staff will take care of the rest. Text PK to 57500, and we will go to places you can't even imagine. I'm telling you, that is the truth. Let's get together and do some business.
Question of the morning. What should the Utah Jazz do? What moves do you want to see them make? A lot of people here are saying things like sell the team. They're getting attacked by Jazz fans. Tired of your negativity.
Sell the team? Why?
Yeah. RB, sell the team! Exclamation point. Clown smiley face. The Easton, your take sucks.
Well, you can sell it all you want, just don't move it.
There you go.
You got a local owner. Ask the people in Seattle how they feel about that.
They would prefer local owner.
Yes.
I think the only local owner that moved was the St. Louis Rams going to L.A. were owned by a guy from Missouri. Weird deal. But all the other teams you can name, I don't think it's local owner.
What do you mean?
Well, Seattle? Was Mark Davis a local owner? Does he count? Because he grew up in Oakland? Maybe he does. Maybe that'd be another example.
That's such a screwy situation.
It really is.
Yeah. What are you limiting to? Did the O'Malleys come from New York?
Yeah, I hadn't gone back that far. But
for those people who were around, it hurt just as much.
It was a big deal, yeah.
My father.
It was a team for once it's your team for half a century.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the Oilers fall in the same category. You weren't, whether you're originally from there or not, if you've lived there 50 years.
Yeah. And we know that the team that's not a possibility. It's not even remotely a possibility.
So worry about something else.
Yeah.
Trade Sexton and Collins to the Bucks for Lillard and a future first. Count on a Milwaukee meltdown. It'll be more than one first if they do that deal. I don't know that they'll do it, but it won't be for one. It'll be for more than one.
What are you talking? More than one what?
First round pick to take the Lillard contract.
Oh, okay.
The Jazz would demand way more than one first round pick. Giving up Sexton and Collins. Back up the truck.
And it depends on what happens with Yanni, obviously.
Yep.
So that could,
if they're going to rebuild or what they're going to do.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of stuff that goes into that. We'll have to see how that plays out. A possibility that could happen. But the important thing is to make moves. I think it's two things for me. Make moves that makes your team better, and make moves that don't get in the way of tanking, or better, make sure that you make moves to get yourself out of that. Meaning what I'm getting at is rather than sit all the vets like we did last year, that was just torture. Last year was literally the worst season they've ever had. And in many ways, it was the worst season they ever had. And nobody wants to go through that. And Double A's up there telling us we're not going to go through that. So he's got stuff in mind, right? Clearly he's got stuff in mind. And what those things are will be known publicly in time. But you have to get those guys out of the way. Because I think the community and the fan base would accept losing better if it's consistent playing time and not going and seeing so many guys just sitting over there and just not being able to play. And then if you had gotten a Cooper flag, it all would have been worth it. But now, if you didn't already realize it, you realize it's such a crapshoot. Why do that? So get rid of these guys then and get some other stuff that can present a clearer vision of the plan. You can't articulate and spell out the plan in an oral sense, but you can do it. It's the same, we've heard, don't tell me about it, show me. Well, that's the same thing here. Show me.
Some moves might end up explaining everything.
They will. You'll see it clearer. May not see the literal bottom line, everything, because one move can lead to another. Yeah.
And has to.
Right. So, and I think management has a better understanding of that too. It's one thing to lose, but it's another thing to tank and get nothing for it. You probably could have gotten the same thing without doing that, by literally having the worst season ever. It was a downer.
Maybe they could have been in a spot to move up. Maybe they would have been in the top 4.
Yeah. But you probably wouldn't be that worse. I really like the idea of trying to get 2 top 6 picks. And it seems like they can do that if they wanted. But they got to believe that there's guys out there that are available.
Somebody they're really in love with.
Yeah, I would say 2 people.
Do you think the Wizards will be moving out at 6? I find that hard to believe.
They've got so much. They're like the Jazz. What do you need? Yes. You know what I mean?
I do.
So
the thing you'd have to know about any of these trades, whether there's Charlotte at 4 or Washington at 6 or whatever, is do they love somebody on your roster? You know, that's the old thing that was actually talked about at one of these press conferences, or was it on one of our interviews maybe, because we had both Austin Age and Danny Ainge on.
I think it was the interview, yeah.
The best, Danny's saying the best deals are the ones where somebody called us because they decided they wanted somebody. That's when you really have leverage.
You would think that would be easier.
Yeah, you don't talk them into pick it up and, hey, I bet you want this guy. I bet you want this guy. And I want all this stuff back.
I think it's hard to talk people into anything.
But when they pick up the phone and call you,
when they're the motivator,
they've already decided that they want to do something.
Yeah. And Charlotte's an interesting case because, man, it seems like they've been rebuilding for 15 years.
Because they have been.
And it just,
but this
like,
owner hasn't.
Nowhere.
Right. So what kind of pressure do they feel now?
But I think the fan base, in a sense, applies pressure. And it's the same fan base. You can change owners 20 times, but it's the same fan base. And can you give us something, some glimmer, instead of just languishing over and over again? And they've had a number of high picks now. They're in a sense the modern day Clippers when I was down in L.A. Number of high
endlessly,
picks.
Yeah.
And every year you can count on an invitation to Donald Sterling's lottery party in Beverly Hills. You could. Yeah. And it seemed like it was an annual thing.
They have missed the playoffs 9 years in a row. It's the longest streak.
And that's just inexcusable.
Yeah. San Antonio's at 6, but it seems like they're so close now. Because they've been
right around the corner.
Stacking good draft picks.
Yeah. Right. And they've been fortunate. Number 1, number 2. And number 1, when Big Vic is there, 3 centers that they pluck out of the lottery. Oh, my goodness. Come on. What's going on there? That's extremely fortunate. And then number 2, and then they cashed into their credit on Castle. He's a player. He'll continue to be a player. So you got that going on there. Maybe like a Cade Cunningham, probably not quite as good, but good enough. So they've got some real good pieces there. And my guess would be that Durant ends up there. Just a guess. Seems like they're more willing, from listening to Phoenix radio, they're more willing to do a deal than Houston is. We'll see. And Phoenix obviously is more than willing to do a deal. But yeah, I would like to see the Jazz really expedite this rebuild. And the thing that, and Tim LaComb made this point when you were out a couple weeks ago, get 2 high picks and then be on the same calendar, so to speak. The timeline's a better word. And
that's what I was talking about earlier this morning. What are they going to do with Markkanen and Collins? Do they want to trade the older players for younger players? Now, they have to be younger players you're really committed to. They probably won't have as much proof. Maybe they have more upside, but there'll also be more risk. You know who Markkanen and Collins are at this point. But are Markkanen and Collins the guys who are going to get you to the conference finals, the NBA finals, and win it all?
Well,
Markkanen, if he's the third best guy.
You can't ask somebody on that singularly alone. There's like 5 players maybe you could say yes. Why am I going to pick on Larry Markkanen and say, "Or can you get us there?" No,
it's not
but
about
who can
picking,
say that?
It's not about picking on him.
You picked him, not picking on him. You picked him.
Well, because he's the guy in the roster. He's the best paid guy in the roster.
I know, but that's unfair to him.
But he's eating up. Well, he signed a contract. It's eating up the biggest percentage of the salary cap. So what do you get for that? I mean, I think that was a big part of
from
Gobert.
the Jazz perspective
That was
talking about?
Yeah, that was a big part of the Gobert trade. If Gobert's on $25 million, do they tear it all the way down, or do they try to rebuild around him? Maybe they try to rebuild around him. He did a lot of good things, but at $45 million, you didn't have enough money left to go get the offense you had to put around him, no matter how spectacular his defense was.
But yet he got to the conference finals twice.
Yep. But you can't win a title with that. They believe.
Why singling out Gobert?
Because he was on the roster and they had to decide whether to trade him or not. That's why.
Yeah, but if you put better players, if you did your job, you're acting like, well, Gobert isn't good enough and it's his fault. You need to do your job. You gave him the money. Now you need to have the foresight to realize that this is what we need to put on the team around him.
So, 2 different things. They didn't give Gobert the money. That had been the previous administration. But in this case, they did give Markkanen the money. Now, did they give Markkanen the money?
I'm talking about the previous administration.
Oh, you're talking about Dennis Lindsey.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, by the time he was traded, it was.
I understand that. I got you. I got your point.
Right.
And that's why they did it. I get that. Right. But I'm talking about the ones who gave him the money. They should have. They were responsible for that. Not Ainge and Hatback weren't responsible for it. I understand that. But I'm talking about whoever gives you the money. These guys now, they gave Markkanen the money. So don't tell me, he's not good enough.
Well, except maybe they gave him the money thing and he's not good enough, but we can flip him.
Then flip him. All right, fine.
And maybe they will. And then what do you get back from him?
Well,
and do you try to and that gets back to the point about, are you trying to align the ages so guys are more,
Teams are in more of a win now mode. Not everybody's in the same boat. We understand that. I get that. Yeah, but and so if they trade him to Team X, then Team X can't say, "Well, gosh, man, we can't get to there with him." Put guys around him then. That's the task. And it's very easy for me to say that's the task, but it's very difficult for AA and these guys to do the task and accomplish it. I get it. But that doesn't change. Jay-Z said, doesn't matter where we draft. We got to get a good player. That's the charge. The charge never changes. It's always out there, which is
good player win more.
Which is why this whole thing is so fascinating and why we're so into it and why we're eagerly anticipating this draft 2 weeks from today.
2 weeks to go.
Get me there. I don't know that I've ever been excited about a Jazz draft. As excited.
There it is.
Yeah.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't what you said.
Right. I am jacked for this draft. And there's been other drafts.
I know, but that's a little bit of, like you say, you're a prisoner of the moment.
Yeah, this is today.
This is the biggest thing.
Right. And I'm sure back then, when they drafted D. Will, when they had Canner and
I actually remember
Burks.
back when they did the Jazz parties at the Delta Center and when they drafted Hayward.
For
and
sure.
You were standing right there.
Yeah.
And like, this is awesome.
It was.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, they knew they wanted to do it. They knew the fans weren't going to like it. The fans didn't like it. And you knew it was going to be a great show the next day. People were passionate, and they didn't agree. Perfect.
On the Hayward one you're speaking of?
Yeah, on the Hayward one.
And he turned out to be a good player.
He did. It was a good pick. That was a good pick. You look at who else was on the board. That was well. It's easy to go back and say, "Oh, they blew it in this one. They should have taken that player instead of this one." But there are drafts you go back and you're like, "Wow, they really were spot on."
Based on talent and contribution, they retired Hornacek's jersey. Should they retire Hayward's?
That's not happening.
But who had better talent? Who was here longer?
Uh-huh. And that doesn't matter. How about this one? Who won more?
If he had the other two, who got him out of the depths? That team owner's gone now.
And it doesn't matter.
What do you mean?
Matter.
They did Adrian Dantley.
They did.
That was bitter.
It was.
Let it go, Dave. Let it go.
There are people who believe AD got in because they realize he's going to go in the Hall of Fame and his jersey better be up there before he wins the Hall of Fame.
Let it go.
That's one theory among people who love AD.
And we're a smaller market, so we value these guys. I could argue very much that Hayward was a better player, and nobody loves Hornacek better more than me.
G-Time's jersey's not going in the raft. It's just, no.
Based on contributions, why not?
Deep playoff runs, how he left. Lacking deep playoff runs, look how he left. That's why not.
100%.
Maybe how he left if there were deep playoff runs.
His college coach ends up being in Boston. You should have hired Brad Stevens. Then he would have stayed.
How he left, not that he left.
He left on a plane. They all leave the same way. He was leaving on a jet plane. How else did he leave? They all leave the same way.
Okay, Steve Miller.
And then they have the movers drive the cars and out. Robin wanted to go. What was he going to do?
Stop.
Get food poisoning from a local eatery. That's what
Robin wanted to go. What could he have done? You got to take care of Robin. The organization spent too much time worrying about Robin because we heard about it.
We did hear about it.
Robin. Oh, my gosh.
We did hear about it. Yes, we did. Really worried.
I don't want to know about the spouses. I don't want to know about Meredith and Bennett with Scheffler.
But when you're worried about your star player, maybe leaving at the end of the season and somebody posts a picture, was it a St. Patrick's Day picture?
Pictures of his kids in St. Patrick's Day shirts that were green with clovers.
Yeah, green, come on.
There's nothing there to be read into.
Okay.
It's a new day. And what do? We sure made sure that we didn't offend Donovan Mitchell when he came back. Everybody bent over backwards.
That worked.
Yeah. We had to show we were open and accepting to all people and all thoughts and all things and everything. So we made sure that we applauded for Donovan Mitchell.
Yep.
Well,
so
how did he leave any different?
Well, he told them well in advance that he would.
They weren't told them well in advance. They just weren't listening.
So they traded him and got something for him. Players and picks. As opposed to, you can't have a trade exception.
Yeah, I got it.
All right, DJ PK. When we come back,
we will talk about Darren Williams' jersey being retired.
Not if we can help it. Everything you missed in this show next. 9 a.m. Slacker Radio headlines brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary, 801-899-7600, or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. Shohei Ohtani, 44 pitches. Dodgers need some more pitching. I think the target was August. Now they're talking about maybe July.
Well, they need to get their guys back.
They do.
This is just an epidemic of pitching injuries.
It is. An epidemic is exactly the right word. It's just stunning. Every day it seems like there's another pitcher, just one after another. And now there's a bullpen game for the Dodgers yesterday, a AAA pitcher today. This is supposed to be a marquee series with the Padres, but they're just struggling to get someone out there. It's like you said, they went to their position player in the 6th inning, right? Done with the staff.
They've ever done.
Yeah.
This is the LA Times wrote us. I'm looking at it right now as we speak. And, I'm going to go right after the show, get a haircut, go to the gym, and then come back and watch some afternoon baseball.
You like your midweek games, your getaway days.
Yeah, and I think Diamondbacks are playing during the day, and I think the Dodgers-Padres.
Cubs-Phillies on Major League Baseball Network, 11 a.m.
Yeah.
Diamondbacks at 1:40. So there you go. They got the Mariners. You got your baseball lined up today.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll be having Dodger-Padre updates. So I've been an NL West guy for a long time.
Yankees-Royals in prime time tonight on Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball Network.
Tonight I got some NBA I need to take care of.
Game 3, Gainbridge Fieldhouse, Pacers Thunder. Who you got? Thunder? Thunder. Thunder 5.5-point favorites in this game.
Well, I've got the Thunder to win the series. So I would pick them to win every game. But I know they already haven't, and it wouldn't surprise me if there's some form of split here. I would like to see that, make it a little more interesting, and away you go. So, yeah, I'm going to pick them every time they play, no matter where the game is.
Sports is going international. Dallas Mavericks, Detroit Pistons, going to play a regular season NBA game in Mexico City November 1st. So...
I've been to Mexico City.
Yeah?
Yeah.
To see an NBA game?
No.
What were you doing?
Just hanging out.
You were not just hanging out.
I was too.
Connecting flight to Cancun?
Well, no, coming home, and the flight got canceled. So that created a little bit of an issue.
Now what?
Yeah.
Egor Demin is going to the green room. He's one of 13 players invited. Cooper Flagg will be there, obviously. Dylan Harper will be there, obviously. Top picks in the draft. Travis Hansen told us that he would go somewhere between 7 and 12.
Yeah, that's what they anticipate. There's no guarantee there. We'll see how that plays out. It's crazy to think that BYU has gone almost 15 years without a draft pick, and now they're going to have one this year. They're going to have one next year. Do they have multiple? Is this going to be an annual occurrence that their best players are going to get drafted? It's amazing to think the transformation of this basketball program in such a short time.
New Orleans or Brooklyn? They're drafting 7 or 8. That would seem to be high end for Egor Demin. But if he slips, Portland 11, Chicago at 12.
We'll see, yeah.
Spent a lot of time talking this morning about what the Jazz could do, what they should do, what they might do. What does Austin Ainge want to do? He doesn't have the track record. We haven't heard much from him. He spoke, but it was generalities, philosophy more.
Well, yeah, now's not the time to speak.
Now's not the time to start blurting stuff out.
Time to work.
It's going to drive the price up if you blurt something out anyway.
I imagine that he's grinding it right now. This is really all he has ever known. I mean, he wasn't a big-time player. He had to grind for everything that he got. And so I think that's a situation that he's going to do now. And then 2 weeks from today, we'll get some insight. It's just fascinating to me. It's so crazy, man, that Austin Ainge is running the Jazz and Alex Jensen's running the Ute basketball program.
You've adapted to Kalani?
Yes.
Will it be weird when Morgan takes over?
Not as weird because we've been anticipating it for so long. I mean, we've been interviewing Morgan for years now.
Yep.
So it's not going to be that big of a deal. I mean, I even got a kick interviewing Alex when he was the summer league coach. I mean, he's a kid I literally covered his first college basketball game. I covered his last college basketball game. Austin Ainge, I literally covered his first college basketball game, and I covered his last one. I remember their last ones. It was at Rupp Arena when they lost to, I think it was Xavier. And I was talking to him after the game about how it was over and all that type of stuff. And Alex Jensen, he and Hano were the seniors, and they lost in Cleveland to Michigan State the year I think Michigan State won it. And Majerus took them in a room that was separate from the locker room. And we're standing right there in the hall. And when Alex comes out, and his eyes are totally red. Obviously he'd been crying. And those are images in my mind that I'll never forget. These guys are my guys.
And now they're calling the shots and running the show.
I know. It's at the trite cliche is, where did the time go?
That's really what it is.
But yet it has. It's gone.
Austin's how old?
Yeah. And they put out a thing, Utah's roster yesterday is finalized. And 9 new guys, and I'm going through these guys. I have no idea. All I do is I read their credentials and what they did. How's it going to work when we get to basketball season for the Utes? Well, that's going to be fascinating to see, too. I'm not going to necessarily judge them simply on one season, obviously. But, I mean, they're bringing in 9 new guys. This is the new world in which we live. And how's he going to do? I mean, obviously, I'll be rooting for the guy. There's no way I'm going to root against Austin Ainge or Alex Jensen for that matter. It's just both guys were on the teams when I was a beat writer. You know what I mean?
I do. I know exactly what you mean.
I sat in airports and talked to them and all that stuff.
I can't remember the exact deal, and I don't know if you were there, but there was some kind of deal where Austin was, maybe if it was the freshman, his freshman year, the opening night and the practice, but I don't think I would have been at that. But there was someone, it was like a school official, maybe the school president, it wasn't a basketball person, speaking about him and hyping it up, and there were people there, and they were all cheering, and Austin was looking embarrassed, like, okay, this is too much.
I don't know.
Yeah. But he hadn't played a game yet, and there was all that hype.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And now here he is.
Yeah. And, all right. Now we're going to evaluate what they do. It doesn't mean I can't say, boy, that was a stupid move. I want the move to be good. That's the difference. But if it's stupid, you got to say it's stupid.
You said earlier that he likes the Marcus Smart. He likes the absolute hard-nosed grinder, competitor. Which of the guys who are being projected in that kind of 4, 5, 6 range has that quality? Or has that quality at the highest level?
It's hard for me to say because I'm not around those guys. We're not watching them day to day.
I'm thinking like out of Edgecomb, Fears, maybe Trey Johnson.
I'd put Knipple in there too.
And Knipple, okay.
Yeah. I would probably say Fears right now. But it's such a distance for me. It's a real educated guess. I don't really have a lot of fact behind it that we've seen.
Not the same as your beat writer days when you stood there and talked to them and you could feel it. You could talk to them after they missed big shots, lost a game they should have won. That stuff's on full display in those moments.
Yeah, like for BYU, a Travis Hansen, a Lee Commard. Mm-hmm. Those types of guys.
Yeah, you could feel it when you talk to Travis.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Right. And, yeah, he just breathed winning. And then and in those days, too, you'd stay after. And that's how I got to know Travis, staying after. He loved the give and take. He still does, obviously.
That's why he comes on the show.
Right. And so he would talk to me and about this and that and about the team. And I had an exact number, not literally the same, but the exact type of conversations off to the side with Austin. So I know how he thinks, or at least how he thought then, as far as what he thinks basketball is about. Many conversations with him over the years when he was the beat writer. When I was the beat writer, he was the player.
Coach's health, a big story today. Jim Harbaugh, the doctors can't find anything wrong with me. A grade. He had a cardiac ablation and a hip replacement. So they did find some stuff. You, me, Yak.
What is a cardiac ablation? Sounds a name like a head-screaming rock band.
As I understand it, it's a hole in your heart that they have to go in and fix.
Oh, man, I got a hole in my heart, but that's another story. Yeah.
I like it for a band name.
But it has to be a certain type.
Absolutely.
It has to be headbangers.
Metal.
Heavy. Really heavy.
Heavy.
Yeah.
Cardiac ablation.
Yeah.
One show only.
Right. Because you'll all be deaf at the end of the show.
And then we've got no word on what's going on with Deion Sanders. His son, Deion Jr., was on social media saying he'll tell you when we get back to Boulder. Shedeur was asked about it, and he just wants to talk about quarterback in the Cleveland Browns. He's going to leave his dad's health to his dad. So Deion Sanders not with the program currently, dealing with an unspecified illness at his home in Texas.
Well, I mean, that's obviously scary.
Scary. Something serious is going on there.
Yeah, and he's already had the toes amputated.
Yep.
We know that. So, yeah, that's not good. Hopefully it turns out to be good.
DJ and PK, when we come back, your feedback, everything you think about this show next. Stay with us.
And it's all over almost here.
Don't go nowhere.
DJ and PK, proudly presented by our title sponsor, Black Desert Resort, Utah's premier golf resort. Time for your feedback. What moves should the Utah Jazz make? Wade, the right ones. Jacob wants to see them trade the veterans. I'd be willing to take on Lillard's contract if we get a first with it. Trade Lauer if we could get a good young piece and a few first-round picks. Draft the best player available, but I'd like to try and consolidate picks if possible.
What's that mean?
I think he's talking about taking 2 picks and putting them in a deal together and moving up. I don't know that that's possible, but I think what he's saying, consolidate picks. If you take 5 and 21 and turn them into the number 3 pick, do it.
Okay, but, you have to go back to the guy that they like, because who's to say that guy that they like might not be available? They don't know that, obviously, but we know that DA did that very famous move, trading down and still getting the dude that he wanted, which was Jason Tatum, who's won him a title as their best player. So that move... It won't be as famous as Red Auerbach trading for Robert Parrish and drafting McHale that day that led to a significant portion of the dynasty.
Yeah.
But that move was really good. And Jason Tatum, he'll be injured here for a bit, but when he comes back, he's still a very good player. So if they like somebody there at 3 and they're assured that he's not going to be available, I can't say it's got to be love, then do that. Yeah, okay. But if you're sort of, we can go this way, we can go that way, maybe don't do that.
Cruz says they need to use Lauer to get 2 top 5 picks in this draft. Well, it sounds like Ace Bailey could be available without having to trade up to number 3. If that is the case, the only picks the Jazz should trade for are number 1 or 2, which would never happen.
Yeah, most likely not. But if you can get 2 top 5 picks.
Well, that sounds great on the surface, but
what?
If Ace Bailey's going to be the 3rd pick in the draft, and you've heard the Jazz aren't big on him, they've got a pool of players they like, and they got other players
but
they like more.
whoever they like at 3.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be him.
But if they know Ace is going to go 3, there's no reason to trade up. Let whoever fall to you.
True.
Unless you're super passionate about 2 players.
But
3 is the only one you can get, and you get the 2 players,
and you
got to get 3.
Whoever 3 is, and you're worried Charlotte may like him,
let's
even
say
if he's not Bailey.
If they love Trey and if they love VJ Edgecomb and they could trade in at 3, well, that could be the way to get them. These are all ifs.
That would be super exciting.
All hypotheticals here. But 3 might be available.
I don't care what the position is. If you can get yourself 2 top 5 picks that you really love.
Well, I just think the Sixers could be motivated.
Of course they are.
With the Spurs.
I think every team is motivated. Except,
really?
Except the Spurs.
Oh, okay. See, the Spurs aren't motivated.
We already took them and put them off to the side.
Right. So you can't get 1 or 2. Those teams want those players.
Possibly get
what? 1 or 2? Explain to me how that would be.
Possibly.
What? Dallas isn't trading Cooper Flag.
Jokic.
Okay.
I'm not talking about the Jazz. Motivated is motivated.
Okay.
But probably not. No, right. I agree.
But I can see where the Sixers, if they
there's no question
win now mode there.
Yeah, you got 2 aging guys.
Yep.
And Embiid can be a pain in the butt.
So if there's any combination of these 2, I picked Edgecomb and Trey Johnson. I'm just picking them. Maybe they'll have fears.
Fine.
Yeah.
Fine. Yeah. Whoever they might be. I just think that can really jumpstart the rebuild.
Yeah. So do you think Austin Ainge, we're going to have to call him Double A now, aren't we?
That's what I always call him.
It gets too confusing otherwise. You think Double A was saying what he had to say on draft day when he said, anything could happen, but we'll probably draft where we are?
Yeah, but that's not mutually exclusive. You could trade up and also draft 5. I think that's what he was saying. I don't think he was saying, hey, we got no shot to move up, but we'll probably take 5. Yeah, I believe they will, but they can do other deals around that, too.
Make another deal and don't use 5 to get to 3.
Yeah. I think that would be ideal of all the deals, if you follow my spiel.
For real.
Yeah. And let's hope the deal is something that they can seal.
Like the Pittsburgh Steelers?
The Steelers.
It was 2.5 hours ago. Do you remember that?
I do, now that you brought it up, yeah. I was grateful that you said that, and that just light bulb went on. And
There it was.
I got to say it.
You got to say it.
We talk to the audience.
Can't hold that in.
No, and I've often said, some of those people are my best friends.
Oh, geez.
I love them.
Stop.
I've gotten to know them. I live by them. I root for their teams. I've broken bread with them.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Making me regret bringing that up.
I've gone. How about this? I've gone. I can honestly say this to kids in the hoods, farewells and homecomings. Yes, I have.
All right.
See, people? I love yous.
Okay, let's just wrap it up then.
What?
Yuck, is there any hope?
It's the truth. I mean, there's no hope for me. I'm in outer darkness. Jeez, you've already sealed my fate.
Hey, you're at least Telestial worthy. I'll give you that.
Is that 1 or 2?
That's number 3.
Oh, you're going down. I was going up.
Yeah, so it's number 1.
See, I'm always looking upward.
Yes,
you're the
yes.
one. You're the gloom and doomer, not me.
Think Celestial over here.
Yeah. Just get me out of purgatory and I'm fine.
Mixing and matching now. All right. Jake and Ben coming on next right here on The Zone.